What up, what up? A2HH Live, we are here. Actually, well, I'm here. We're waiting on Coop to get in the room. Waiting on everybody else to get in the room, too. I want to make sure that people get their notifications. Let's see. Tell me if you guys got your notifications or if people are in the room. That was weird how that was working out. Let's see. All right, we in here. Thumbs up, because I'm not seeing anybody. Hold on, we're going to get this thing going. All right, cool. We in here. Shout out to OG Weston, Andrew Williams in the building. Yes, I got my Starbucks here and everything too. Hold on, let me make sure everybody else is getting the message. Yes, okay. Because I think I was talking to y'all before and nobody was, hearing anything that I was saying. I think I was stuck in the other room. Yeah, the old link's deleted. Tell everybody to come back over here. There we go. People are coming in. Thumbs up in the chat. Thumbs up in the chat. All right. Well, waiting on Coop to come in. He should be in momentarily or whatnot. But we have a whole lot to discuss today. And I want to speak on this freaking documentary. I want to speak on this future album. And I want to speak on, obviously, we wanted to speak on, shout out to Leroy out there. Yeah, shout out to everybody in the chat. Thumbs up in the chat. We here early. I want to speak on this Kendrick verse, man. And I want to know what you guys thought of this Kendrick verse. I want to get the polling open, too, so we can kind of get people's interactions and engagement with this. What did y'all think about this Kendrick verse? You think that it's blown out of proportion? You think it's something that obviously it's going to get some sort of response. Do you think this is good? Do you think it's a great verse? Peace, everybody in the chat. Shout out to Andrew Green. Shout out to our day ones is in here on this Saturday, man. Yeah, Cole got to respond. Okay, yeah. All right, hold. Let me see this. I want to get into this polling real quick, and I'm gonna get into my side of it real quick because it's a lot going on. Let's see. I'm about to put the poll up, and then I'm gonna get back to it and say, what do you think about Kendrick's recent verse? Let's see. Fire. Boom. Okay, I'm gonna give y'all four options here. Fire, dope, okay, or trash. Okay. So yes, peace to everybody in there, peace to everybody in here. Thumbs up in the chat so we can keep it going. But okay, I got the poll in here, and like I said, Cooper's on the way. We're gonna talk about this. My mic is scratching. Okay, well, I want to make sure the sound is good, and I never really have any issues with my sound. Let me know if there's any issues with the sound. All right, well, there's a lot of things that are interesting here. First of all, I was riding around listening to the Future album, just listening to it, right? And they didn't really notify any of the features that were on there. So I'm just riding around. Oh, they said my mic is scratching. Hold on, let me check this real quick, man, before we get going, because I don't wanna have an awful show because the mic sound crazy. Let's see. There's a lot of things that are interesting here. First of all, I was riding around listening to the Future album, just listening to it, right? And they didn't really notify. That sounds good to me. Low volume? You guys got low volume? Let's see, man. Why is all right? We'll get the volume up a little bit. Is it better now? Okay, it's better now. Good. All right, but anyway, so I was riding around listening to the Future album and Future Metro album. Starts off very strong. We're gonna get into the album in itself. But I got to that song like that, and then I heard, again, I'm a 3-6 fan, so I heard a record that I know ultimately samples Everlasting Bass, but 3-6 used that record many times. So I'm like, okay, here's Metro again, paying homage to DJ Paul and Juicy J, which is gonna be interesting in this tournament when we talk about Metro all around and how much he takes from DJ Paul and Juicy J. But we'll get to that in a minute. Um, so I heard that, and then I heard Kendrick come on because again, I hadn't looked at anything. I hadn't gone online. I just wanted to listen to this album with like a whole clear mindset. And Kendrick jumps on. I'm like, oh, Kendrick got a verse on. I'm like, is that Kendrick Lamar? Because he did kind of sound slightly different. He sounded like he was on his rap shit. He sounded like he was there to rap. And then he starts saying these things. that I knew who they were directed at. And you know, on this show, we've been talking about this little subliminal back and forth that's been going on with Drake and Kendrick for a minute. I mean, even privileged rappers and stuff like that. Like, they've been going at each other for a minute, Drake included. I think Drake's been going at Kendrick pretty tough for the past year or two. Um, and so I heard what he said, and then it sounded like J. Cole was being pulled into this, which I thought was interesting. Good morning, everybody. I thought it was interesting that J. Cole was being pulled into this because J. Cole, as we know historically, him and Kendrick are supposed to be tight, right? Um, and then the whole on top of that, because Coop and I talked about this when the record with Drake and Cole came out in the video and everything. Cole was paying homage to all three of them. Now, we already know how Drake feels about Kendrick and the competitiveness that goes on with those two guys and the back and forth that goes on with those guys. But Cole was doing the whole Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas thing. He mentioned Kendrick in a very, high level, high light. So I always thought it was a situation where it was like, okay, well, those guys are good. It's just competitiveness between Drake and Kendrick. So when Kendrick gets on the record seemingly going at Cole too, like it ain't no big three, I was like, oh, that's different. And then I'm thinking about the fact that this is actually on Future's record. And Future and Drake have done albums together. They've done tours together. They have hits together. And really, you could say that of all of Drake's collaborators, Future could possibly be his best collaborator, and vice versa. And so, and also another added element, Metro recently has kind of had this thing with Drake as well. So the fact that not only is Kendrick featured on the album and saying these things, but it's where he's saying them. And I don't know if this is an all-out assault on Drake and Cole, if you will, but I think this makes a lot of things interesting. Um, and people saying that Drake and Future fell out. Okay. Um, Again, that sounds like something that could be personal or something. I mean, the rumor is over a chick or something like that. I don't know anything about any of those things. But I do know that they sanctioned, and I know that, Metro's been public about, him and Drake's, back and forth or whatever. They sanctioned this verse, and this was a platform, and I'm interested on many levels of what kind of response we're going to get. And I would love to hear you guys' input on this too before Coop gets in here. But yeah, Andrell Green with the super chat. Shout out to Andrell, one of our day ones. He says, Cole sent the shot at Kendrick on first person shooter. Everybody's steppers. Well, these ninjas is breakfast, and I'm about to clear up my plate. That's why Kendrick said, that's why Kendrick said he was sneak dissing. Say Cole is on the decline. Oh, no. Okay. I think that all of these guys need this. I believe, just my personal opinion, Drake started really going hard at Kendrick when Kendrick got ranked number 2 on Billboard. And that's number 2 MC of all time. And Drake has every Billboard record there is. I think that no one's really even touching him in the hip-hop space when it comes to Billboard specifically. So I'm sure he felt that that was a slap in the face numerically for Kendrick, a person in his same generation, to be ranked number 2 all time and them having him placed where he is. So I think Drake, from a competitive standpoint, was like, well, okay, if he's that much better than me, I'm going to need him to prove it, and we're going to do this in every way possible. So I see where that one came from, and that's continuously escalated. Cole, he's kind of an outlier in this, where I think he's just on a tear right now, and he's trying to prove that he is the GOAT of his generation. I've heard Drake say that, Cole is the best rapper of their generation. He just needs the albums to kind of match that, and the hits to kind of match what Drake's doing, and the albums to match what Kendrick's doing. If we're gonna, parse hairs here, but he has an album on the way, and something like this is great momentum for that. So he needs this in a certain light too. I don't know if Future fits in all of this, facilitating this, if you will, other than the fact that this is just going to be a big, big record and an important record based on many of the things that are going to follow it. You better believe, if anything doesn't happen here, you better believe that Drake is going to respond. And Drake is going to respond appropriately, efficiently, and fast. This is not going to be one of those, Black Slim Shady situations where we're never going to hear anything back, because this is the place that Drake is in right now. Drake is the one that has pushed for Kendrick to say something. And if he doesn't say anything now, after Kendrick has kind of just jumped out the window, this is the furthest he's gone in their little back and forth. If he doesn't say anything now, then that looks like he's scared, and he's not going to do that. I think that Drake has some records loaded up. I've always felt like strategically, it just makes the most sense for an MC to put out a verse, subliminals here and there, and force the other guy to make the full out diss record first. Now I think we're past that stage. I don't think Drake can just go out there and jump on a feature and throw a shot at Kendrick. Drake has to be the one to make the first full record and force Kendrick's hand to make a full record. Kendrick's never made a full diss record in his career. Drake has. He's had multiple. So, and even with what he did with Meek Mill when he did Charged Up and they did back to back, he had 2 loaded up. So from an experience standpoint, Drake can really back Kendrick into a wall right now and forcing Kendrick's hand to really put forth his first full diss record. Because really, somebody said in a comment, and I agree with this, it's like, man, Drake could do one of those 3 a.m. in Compton records. You know what I'm saying? And that would really put Kendrick in a spot where he's really going to have to make a rap record. And he's not really clicking on all cylinders when it comes to rap records at this moment, if we're all being quite honest. Let me get to the super chats. Marquez Davis with the super chat says, I don't know if he's going to respond, but I hope Cole washes Kendrick. I'm really tired of him, man. Like, he is above it all. If you disappear for 5 years, you can't get mad. Rap moves on. But he's going to have to prove that spot is just his. Shout out to Tracy G with the super chat. He says, love you guys. Show you and rap tape. Sorry, I can't even read this more. He said, love you guys show. You and Rap Roundtable are saving the real hip hop with that being said, not a good look for Kendrick. This verse to not be as good as Cole's feature verses. It's not a good look. Let me see what y'all saying in the poll. Okay, 46%. We got 156 votes here on this. 46% say it's fire. 30% say it's dope. 20% say it's okay. 4% say it's trash. Okay. You guys are in the general consensus that this verse is fire and it's going to stand up. And if it's this fire, not only, like I said, we already know Drake's going to respond because he's been responding. He has no choice. The biggest question is Cole going to respond? But I feel like this was more directed at Drake. Cole doesn't have to full out respond. I think Drake needs to respond with a full record because Drake has been the one that's been pushing. And I think he wanted to put Kendrick in this spot. I think that's why, and I've said this before, y'all could go back to the old shows. I think that's why the tour took place. I think that's why Second Person Shooter happened in the way that it did. Y'all know the line I didn't like on this verse. I'm going to go to it in a second when I get past these super chats. Luis says, I'm tired of K-Dot being the sweetheart of KF rap. Hey, man, now it's time to show and prove. Ill Magic with the super chat says, I watched Thought Crimes yesterday, And they gave up deep information saying the Future fell out with Drake, along with Drake dissing Metro's mother. Well, that can't be forgiven. That's just, yeah. Now that you can't come back from that. That's something else. Um, where was I gonna go here? What was I saying? I lost my train of thought. Tracy G with the super chat says, as a fan of Mr. Morale, I do feel like it's being proven Cole was right when he said, y'all, yeah, Cole was right when he said, y'all fell for the bells and the whistles, and he was really the GOAT. Cole is number one, two to me. Huh. Well, again, yeah, I hope Coop's good too, man. He should be jumping on momentarily. Um, Listen, I think the verse is dope. The one line I didn't like and didn't love on the verse is when he said Prince outlived Mike Jack. Now, I think it's noteworthy to know that before Prince's passing, him and Kendrick had somewhat of a relationship. Prince showed up on one of Kendrick's shows and actually rapped. It was really dope. I know that Drake was doing all the Michael Jackson references on Second Person Shooter, and after breaking that one Michael Jackson record, I'm not sure which one it was again. I think it was another Billboard thing, but again, numbers. And Kendrick saying that basically substance. This is what I took from it because I think it was a double entendre. Obviously, in real life, Prince outlived Michael Jackson by a few years. Michael passed in '09. Prince was, what was that, 2016? Or four, yeah, I think it was 16 or 14, one of the two. And no, it was 16. Yep, April 16. Anyway, so we know that happened, but I think that Kendrick's coming from more of a musical standpoint where he feels like the substance outweighs the hit making. And Kendrick is leaning on his morals of the fact that I made these timeless albums. I made Good Kid, Mad City. I made Section 80. I made To Pimp a Butterfly. I made Damn. And these albums and the depth that they're heralded for is going to outlive all these hit records you have. It's going to outlive how many numbers that you've put up in this space. And I think that's where he was coming from with that bar. I think that bar is kind of disrespectful to both legends, but again, Kendrick, so what have you done for me lately, business? And like Ill Magic was saying, or somebody in the chat was saying, you can't just disappear for 5 years and feel like people are supposed to continuously hold you high because of what you did 10 plus years ago on an individual effort while these guys are still running. It would be one thing if your class was doing the same thing. But Cole and Drake are operating on a high level right now, whether it be from songs to individual feature verses. Kendrick's never really been big on, giving out feature verses, rapping at a high level on feature verses. I want to get to these super chats because I know you guys got a lot to say about that too. J.I. Design with the super chat says, I think that the fact that K-Dot only used a bar for Cole is a diss itself. Interesting. James Smith with the super chat says, I like the verse, but didn't need the Prince/Michael line. Michael will always be the GOAT. Yeah, it sounded like he was, again, it was safe. It was a double entendre. I get it. But it sounds like he was dissing Michael, but put it in a form where it wasn't like he can, if he would ask about it, he'd be like, well, yeah, Prince did outlive Michael Jackson in life. You know what I mean? So yeah, I didn't like the bar either. Jay Money with the super chat says, what can Drake say about Kendrick? Oh, he could say a lot. He could say that he fell off. He could say that he gave him, and again, I'm not on Drake's team or anything like this. I'm just speaking as a podcaster and somebody that follows music. He could say that his feature game ain't like that. He could say that he gave Kendrick his biggest hit with Poetic Justice when he came through. He could say a lot. Like, yeah, Drake could say a few things. He could say that again, he hadn't earned his spots. He could say that he doesn't have a Dr. Dre in his corner. I mean, he could say a lot. Jay Designs with Super Chat says, I agree. Even though I saw the connects with MJ slash Prince bar, I don't love it because we all know Mike was the GOAT. And I mean, really, talking down on Michael, man, it's not gonna. I understand the comparison, but seemingly talking down on Michael, that's not gonna go a long way. Ill Magic with the super chat says, and this ain't fully healed Kendrick yet. And this ain't fully healed Kendrick yet. This is the road to heal, aka K Dot. We got to hear if that album is gonna deliver on this level exactly. Art of Nobody with the super chat says, the Prince was super disrespectful. That said, Drake has proven to be battle tested. Doc can't shoot a shot and hide no more. Like in Control. Yeah, I mean, neither one of these guys can hide anymore, and that's good. And I think that when Kendrick jumped out the window with this verse, he probably he put everything out there to say, you know what? I just got to take everything that comes with this one. Ahmad with the super chat. Shout out to him. He says, peace. This verse is mid and overrated. This is not Biggie's verse on Kicking the Door, P's verse on Drop a Gem on him, or those LL verses or the LL's verse on 4321. Do you guys think this verse is going to be forgotten? Well, I don't think, I mean, I think if anything, it's going to be remembered as a pace setter and as a tone setter, because that's exactly what it did, right? Like, whatever happens after this, let's just say nothing happens after this. They're going to say this is the verse that shut up Drake and checked Cole. Let's just say everything happens after this. They're going to look at this as the verse that really set it off. Now, granted, we know even in the Jay-Z and Nas thing, there was a lot of things that happened in between there. But I was listening to Memphis Bleek's Mind Right, Money Right the other day. Great song. Very underrated record, in my opinion. Dope record. Shout out to Bleak. And when he said, your lifestyle was written, who you supposed to be, play your position, I got chills because I'm like, that is the moment that really set it off. That was the moment that got this thing really, really going. And I think if anything, this song or this verse, regardless of what y'all feel about it, it's going to be remembered for that. This is going to be the shot that pretty much set the war off. And, you know, again, we talking about lyrical warfare, man. We ain't promoting no violence or whatever, but the competitiveness in hip-hop has proven over years and over decades to give us better music and have rappers actually rhyming for something. We talk about the NBA now and how a lot of the guys are really, you know, friendly with everybody in the All-Star game. Let's just talk about the All-Star game. It was one of the worst All-Star games I've ever seen. It was like 200-something points. Nobody was playing any defense. But you like to see that competitiveness out there because it gives you a better product on the court. And music has proven to be the same way. When people are competitive, and artists are competitive, and there's that level of fervor and bragging rights and really all-time ranking on the line, we as fans are going to get better music. We're going to get better bars. We're going to get better albums. We're going to get better songs. So that's the part of this I applaud. Leroy Green with the super chat. Shout out to Leroy. He said, what up, Mike? I think they're just having fun. But the question is he going to let Big Sean in the fight? Did you hear this new record, Precision? Fire. And yes, Big Sean is another outlier out there. Big Sean is out here recording on a high level. He got some music coming too. And you know that, yeah, they should let Big Sean in this whole thing. Their generation, or their class, I don't even want to say generation, their class of MCs needs this moment because they never had this moment. There was never really a full-out competitive thing for this era like this. So it's necessary. And you know what? Kendrick's the guy to set it off because he's the recluse of this whole group. He's the guy who doesn't make as much music. He's the guy who doesn't do many features we don't see. And when he says something, It's on. And he's the one that's known for the bars mostly, I would say. John Green with the super chat says Cole's response to Control on that Justin Timberlake song TKO. It's almost as if Kendrick is trying to diss to jumpstart his pen. Ron Vay in the building. Shout out to Ron Vay, my brother. He says verse is dope. He gave them light work to check the temperature. He didn't diss Cole, in my opinion, but I'm sure that Kendrick got another record in the chamber. Are you sure? I mean, what do we? You know what? This is what I will say. I'll be sure of that because he jumped out the window, and I don't think that Kendrick, his team, or anybody over there in the scope, smartest people in the music business, I don't think any of them would allow him to go out there on an album so big and say some of these things without them having a plan. So I do agree with that. Tracy G with the $20 super chat showing love says, the stick bar was for Cole. Time to see if you're a problem was also for Cole. Big Three, Big Me was for Cole. The best was a light pack for Cole too. I think that, and I'm debating, niggas bum that was Cole too. Is that, but could be for both. I do think I agree with you, Tracy G. I think those are for Cole specifically, and I think that when he's talking about that spot, and there's no big three, just big me. That was definitely for Cole because Cole was the one that named all three of them. Like he's shooting that down. Like no, it ain't even like that. It's just me. You guys are cool, but I'm the one. J.I. Design with the super chat says, I think Cole may have the most to gain from this battle, and K-Dot and Drake have the most to lose in that order. Okay. I think, obviously, because K-Dot is so high and put so high, and he's ranked number 2 all time, I think he has definitely the most to lose. I think that this could actually put proof into paper that if he is or if he isn't everything that people are saying he is, right? But in that respect, if he can uphold the spot that he's been granted, if you will, he has a lot to gain. But he has a lot to lose because he's been posted up so high. Drake, in this situation, I don't think has too much to lose because, to be honest, guys, and I mean, we see it from this audience, people don't put him that high in the rap space like that. We look at him as a hit maker and a guy who is here for his hits and his singy-songy raps. And so if he's able to take down somebody like a Kendrick Lamar who's held so high for his lyrics and his music and his album making, I think that's a big plus. It checks off that one box that, to be perfectly honest, many people will never check off for him, even after the Meek Mill thing. I think one thing that wasn't a great look for Drake, and this happened recently, or more recently than Meek, was the Pusha T thing, and not just the fact that Pusha T beat him in the way that he did, but the way it was being handled, where others were coming out and trying to speak for Drake and trying to make it seem like the rules needed to be changed for Drake in battle for some reason or another. You know what I mean? I think that wasn't the best look. But I think going at Kendrick and winning against Kendrick, I think that could possibly rectify that. Now, Drake not responding to Joe Budden, I don't think that's a great look either. I understand it. But Drake also has that whole Common situation in his bag too. So saying all that to say, I don't think Drake has too much to lose here. Really, to be perfectly honest with you guys, Drake has nothing to lose. He has everything to gain here because let's just say he loses to Kendrick. People, for the most part, expect that, right? People really, just from a bar for bar standpoint, I think a lot of people expect that. So I think Drake's walking in here with nothing to lose. Cole has a lot to gain, but Cole has a few things to lose too. Because if he does lose to K-Dot with the support of Drake on this side, they're not as even as people might have once thought. If he doesn't deliver an album that is at the level of the level that he's rapping at right now, first of all, and also the level that Kendrick has put out over the course of his career, that's gonna look, that's gonna be a highlight as well. So I think that Cole has a lot to gain, but he has to do some things that he's never really done. Um, Drake has a lot to gain by doing some things that he's already done. J.I. Design with the super chat says, I think Cole may have the. Oh, okay, I just got that. Ron Bay with another super chat. Appreciate the love showing it. He says, unpopular opinion. K. Dot hasn't been hiding from anyone. He's been slapping Drake around since 2013. If anybody's feelings are hurt, it's Drake's. James Smith with the super chat says, MJ had and hits with a real purpose. He said MJ had and hits with a real purpose, which is why Drake shouldn't be compared to MJ at all with his surface level topics. But it also flaws Kendrick analogy of MJ only making hits. Yeah, and I think that most of that was just coming from the fact that Drake did all of those Michael Jackson things in the video with the glove and the choreography and stuff like that. I would hope Kendrick knows that Michael Jackson was more than just a hit maker. Even though I'm gonna be perfectly honest, and I'm a Michael Jackson guy, Michael's focus was the hits. His focus was to make big records. His focus was to sell records as well. But his focus was also to make great music. He wasn't one of those artists that could go out there or had the intent to say, you know what, I'm just going to go out here and make an album that I feel and I don't care what it sells. Michael was very vocal in the fact that he did care about what it sold. He did care about what it charted. And at a certain point in his career, he did care about the awards that it would receive because he understood the business. Just John with the super chat says, Kendrick not rapping for years and then popping up to scream he's the best is incredibly suspect. We can't give that a pass. I feel that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's been a very, very active past 5 years. He took that break. Very active. Freddie Gibbs is super active. You know what I mean? Drake stayed active. J. Cole stayed active. You had the emergence of Griselda and what they were doing and how active they were. And even people like Big Sean continuously putting out music. People in his class and the new class that's coming around. You can't just expect your spot back. You know what I mean? When you haven't even given us a feature run in that time period where you're actually showing love to the people who are making music. Like, I would have liked to have seen Kendrick rhyme with Griselda. Why couldn't he rhyme with Griselda and Conway and these guys that are rapping on a high level? He's an MC, right? So yeah, if you come on, the game has changed. I don't want to say evolved or changed, but yeah, there are new characters in this game, and you can't just jump in here and just say you're the best based on you being the best 5 years ago. It doesn't work like that. You gotta win your championship every year. You can't sit there and say, man, I won a championship in 1990 and come back in 1995 like, I'm still the champion. No, it doesn't work like that. You got to renew that every year. Blue Collar Hustle with the super chat. $20 super chat showing love. He says, we harp on the 5-year absence, but that was then. This is now. Say what you will about Mr. Morale, but it was commercially successful and led to the highest grossing tour of 2022. K-Dot is still a force to be reckoned with. That's true. But it's not going to be given. He's going to have to prove that with the other active people that are out here. So yeah, I mean, that's true. And I think that's what makes this parody even more interesting because, yeah, he's still a force to be reckoned with. He might not be, for all intents and purposes, Kendrick Lamar of 2015 or 17, but he's still Kendrick Lamar. And, I would like to hear what kind of record he has in him, song that is, if Drake responds with a full-out diss record. I would love to hear that. Ill Magic with the super chat says, let's not forget about the other part aimed at Drake. For all your dogs getting buried, that's a K. With all these nines, he gonna see Pet Cemetery. Yeah, I mean, those are blatant at this point. I mean, I'm sitting there riding around in the car. I'm sitting there like, oh, is he saying this? Am I tripping? It's like 6 in the morning at the time. I'm like, oh, let me rewind this. Definitely rewind worthy. Because I don't think many people at these guys' stature have jumped out the window, on wax, subliminals or whatever, like Kendrick just did on this verse. This is gonna open up a lot. This is not like Control. Control was straight up competitive where he was just naming names and this and that, and it was a surprise at the time because again, I don't think people were used to that happening, but it was kind of blanket and blatant. It was, I won't say blatant, but it was just kind of generalized, if you will. He was saying, look, I don't care who gets on the track. I'm going to be who I am, and I'm the one. This one was very direct. And I think that's what makes this much different than Control to me. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, I'm upset that K Dot didn't make a Target shopping reference after mentioning first person shooter. Blue Collar Hustle with the super chat says, K Dot been calling Drake out for a solid decade. It's K Dot versus Cole. That would be the main event. Everyone knows Aubrey ain't as talented as Kendrick, but again, that's what Drake has to. That's why Drake has nothing to lose here, because people feel that way. And I think that Drake is talented enough where he can actually prove some people wrong in that light, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I think Kendrick's more talented than Drake overall as an artist, but I don't think that Drake is that much less talent. I don't think Kendrick's that much more talented than him where Drake can't make that a conversation in a moment or change that perception in a moment. Just John with the super chat says, folks be label execs soon as Dot start looking funny. I see where people are coming from with this. Record Sanctuary with the super chat says, Kendrick is my favorite, but Kendrick is my favorite of the big three, but he's got to keep rapping consistently if he's talking like this. Nobody has any excuses. Right. I mean, we talk about this all the time, man. When Jeezy enlisted Cole and Kendrick on the same song, Cole came to rap and Kendrick came to sing. And you might hear that again at some point, I'm sure, if this escalates. I will say this. Bar for bar, neither one of these guys have really made full-out diss records like that. I'm talking about Kendrick and Cole. But if you ask me, right now, at this point, in 2017 or 16, it would have been different. Ask me at this point who I trust to come with a better diss record. If there was a diss record from Kendrick aimed at Cole, and there was a diss record from Cole aimed at Kendrick, if you ask me who I think is going to come with the better record, I'm going to say it's Cole. At this point. At this point in 2024. So, I mean, people could take that where they want to. I mean, if Kendrick were able to prove me wrong in that, I wouldn't be surprised. But we need to hear some more rapping from Kendrick, and it's not just the break, it's just, what we heard on Mr. Morale, which was some dope songwriting. But rapping from a competitive standpoint is a different chain. And we haven't really seen that from K-Dot for a minute. Art of Nobody with the super chat says, if Drake has a Duppy freestyle 2 times over, he says, if Drake has a Duppy freestyle 2 times, it's over. Unless Dot got T on Drake, that fast rapping, name calling won't work against a seasoned battle rapper. Now, that's the other thing too. Somebody said earlier, what can Drake say about Kendrick? But what really can someone say about Drake that we don't know and aren't surprised about? Like, I think what Pusha T did, what he did with the blackface thing and with with hiding the kid thing. I mean, he dug for that. He got that. But you can only do one of those things one time. Like, what else can somebody say about Drake that hasn't been said before? I guess that's where I want to come from with it. Like, what really can you say about Drake that hadn't been said before? Because when I saw the whole blackface thing, man, I was like, man, Meek Mill didn't even try. Like, how did Meek Mill not even find that? Like, it's crazy to me. But yeah, I guess Kendrick can kind of harp on Drake being a child actor and things like that, but from recent time, what exactly can you say about Drake? Because he kind of lives by that Kanye mantra: "Everything I'm not made me everything I am." Excuse me. And I think that whatever you would say about Drake, it's like, okay, we know that already. J.I. Design with the super chat says, here's the millennials' perspective with the big three. K. Dot and Drake have always been seen as number one or two. Cole has been three. He said it himself with the bronze bar. He even has a song called Middle Child. So yes, you're right. You're right. And he acknowledges that and he's hungry in that sense. But at some point, bronze medal, middle child's gonna have to feel like he's the gold and he's the guy. I think that the mentality of Kendrick and Drake is they feel like they're number one, where Cole feels like he's number three, but for him to actually ascend to that number one undisputably, he's gonna have to first of all feel like that, and he's gonna have to make the material that pushes that forward. Blue Collar Hustle with the super chat says, also, it may be petty, but I get the feeling that Kendrick simply doesn't like Drake on a personal level, the way that Nas didn't really like Jay. I mean, that's the way it seems, to be perfectly honest. It's just different what the super chat says. I don't get people keep bringing up the 5 year gap. Shit could be the start of him coming to reclaim his spot. It can be. But I think, all right, the reason why the 5 year gap is relevant, and I feel like I may have started this conversation to a certain degree, it's relevant because a 5 year break, it takes you out of rhythm. And anything that you're doing, if you're away from it for a long period of time, and I'm sure he's rapping and writing and recording, but if you're not active with it, it's a little different. You know, you could be in the gym shooting shots, but that's different than actually being on the court with other people. It's different than being in the arena full of people and actually playing on a competitive level. I think that the 5 year gap speaks to how out of practice that he may be in comparison to his peers who haven't stopped. And so being out of rhythm is that why that 5 year conversation or notion or narrative is even relevant to some extent until proven otherwise. You know what I mean? Usually when people take breaks like that or gaps like that, they're never the same. That's why I like, respectfully, love Outkast, but I'm not really. After a certain time period, I wasn't even interested in getting another Outkast album because I knew that they would be so out of practice and out of rhythm that it wouldn't meet the level of expectations that we're used to. And I think Kanye's going through that now too. Like, and breaks do that. If you stay in rhythm, then you're able to stay into the shape that you need to be in. I mean, I think that's why Jay-Z was able to capitalize in the 90s and early 2000s in the way that he did, because he stayed in rhythm. He never took a break, and he kept going and going. And I've said the same thing about Jay and his breaks. You could tell the difference in quality of his material once he takes breaks. I mean, breaks are relevant in that sense. Record Sanctuary with the super chat says, also, I disagree with those criticizing Kendrick's 5 year hiatus. We got to give artists time to be inspired and write on their time. I don't want to, $20 super chat. I appreciate the love. Yeah, we got to highlight that. It says, we got to give artists time to be inspired and write on their time. I don't want to give participation trophies if someone's dropping mid albums every year. Of course not. And I agree with that. And again, 5 years for his projects, that's one thing. But again, we didn't get any dope featured verses in between those time periods. And I think that those are some things, especially in hip hop, where you're able to show people that not only are you still here, but you still deserve those spots that, I don't want to say you left with, but that you had during your hiatus. If you're a boxer, you can't just keep the belt and not get in the ring. You're going to have to give up those belts to the people that are active at some point. You know what I mean? And that's just that's just based on the fact that, yeah, you won the belts, you're the champion, but you have to continuously contend for that championship because there are people actually out here fighting who are probably, who could be better than you now. They could not be, but you have to prove that. You know what I'm saying? Born King with the super chat says, that Ronnie O and Joe Cooley sample was fire. True Southern heads know what I'm talking about. Yeah, man, Everlasting Bass is a fucking classic, man. And again, shout out to 3-6 for constantly keeping that record alive in many aspects. As soon as I heard that song, the Like That song featuring Metro song featuring Kendrick, I immediately went back to Mystic Styles and I played Gotta Touch 'Em. And then I played, the one on Teddy Club Up Thugs, which they directly got it from. But yeah, Everlasting Bass is a classic. Shout out to Everlasting Bass, man. CJ Kid with the super chat says, "Hey, I'm back. Is Coop only on Wednesday's show now? What are Mondays considered? We're trying to get our schedules together for Mondays, so just pop up and do some mic checks on Mondays. And Coop is definitely. I mean, we're doing A2HH Live on Wednesdays, definitely every Wednesday. So we're just trying to get our schedules together. And Coop and I were saying that we'll do a Saturday morning, and he's probably got caught up with work or something. But yeah, he's supposed to be here this morning, but we'll figure that out. Appreciate you checking in, CJ Kid, always checking in with us. Actually, Coop could be calling in any moment. I'm sitting here checking my phone now. But you guys are guiding the show right now. Blue Collar Hustle with the super chat says, how are we saying that Drake isn't that less talented than K Dot when we all know that Drake uses ghostwriters? I was waiting on you guys to go there. Ghostwriters. Are we sweeping that under the rug? What the hell is going on here? I knew the ghostwriter thing was going to be something that was mentioned here. And let's do this, guys. Is this even going to be a fair battle with that ghostwriter narrative out there? And that's why I never wanted to mention it, because let's just say Drake comes with a verse, or not just a verse, a song that takes K Dot off the planet, right? Oh, that's Coop right now. Hold on, guys. Coop, what's good, man? Yeah, we're on right now, man. We got like 350 people in here. They waiting on you. So yeah. All right. Yep. Yeah, Coop's on the way. But yes, let's just say that Drake comes with a record that that obliterates Kendrick. Are we going to just sit there and lean on the fact and say that, you know what, he had a ghostwriter? And see, that's why, and I've said this before, man, at what point are we going to just try to move past that, or face the reality that he either does or doesn't? Do y'all really think that he has a ghostwriter now? Because that's my question. I'm going to put that in the poll too. I don't think so. I think after the Quentin Miller thing happened, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, that happened. We don't need anything to be misconstrued from here on out. I can't be caught with a ghostwriter, so I'm going to do my own stuff, because I think we all know that Drake can write his own stuff. We've heard Drake actually write for others as well. So all of that is factored in. Like, it's kind of like with the Barry Bonds thing. I remember watching Barry Bonds when he was going for the home run record. And for the people who weren't there, this steroid talk, this was happening while he was playing. And this was happening while he was still jacking up home runs. And me as a kid, I'm sitting there, a young man, as a Barry Bonds fan too, I'm sitting here like, well, is he, since you guys are talking about steroids, is he still taking steroids, quote unquote, and still sitting here hitting home runs every day like this? Or is he like, you know what? They talking about this, I'm not doing any of this stuff. So that's kind of how I feel about the Drake thing. I think after the narrative or the notion came out there, and the reference tracks came out there, Drake's probably like, nah, I can't do this anymore. I can't get any help from anybody. So I would venture to say, after the Quentin Miller stuff surfaced, Drake probably didn't use anything like that at that point. But we can't keep holding that over his head to protect somebody like let's just say Kendrick in this situation and say, well, if there is a response, somebody else wrote it. Jay Short with the super chat. Shout out to Jay Short. I know he on the West Coast, so it's early for him. He said, "Why now? This may be Kendrick trying to fire himself up, as opposed to an actual diss with malice. Maybe he knows that there's a little left in the tank, and he's trying to light his own fire." Yeah, man, Jay Short, you think some of the things that I think. And when I heard this verse, I felt the same way. I'm like, well, this seems like something to ignite himself, which is it's fine. It's fine. If Kendrick needs to be inspired and he wants to do this, hey man, somebody said, man, you guys are crazy in the chat, man. Yeah, Benzino pulling up on Mom's Spaghetti in Detroit was wild. But yeah, I think that Kendrick could be lighting his own fire with this, and I think that I'm not opposed to it. I think it's a great thing if that's what he needs to do to feel like he needs to put himself in a space to make better music, spit better bars. I'm all for it, but we gotta deal with everything that comes with it. What I'm gonna say is, man, if Drake comes with a record that beats Kendrick's record, we can't just say somebody else wrote it. That's all I'm gonna say. J.I. Design with the super chat says, "Oh, there's Coop right here." Yo, Coop, what's good, brother?
Well, good morning, sir.
Oh, let me get the set together real quick. Boom, boom. It's probably gonna be a few of us, and boom. I think we're good. Oh man, why is that looking like that? Hold on one second, guys. We could do it this way today. What's good? What's good?
You want a quick story before I start talking about this rap stuff that I know everybody wants to hear?
Well, hold on. Let me get through these super chats before you get the story, because I know I got a few to get to, real quick.
That's fine. First
Hustle
of
with
all,
the super.
hold on.
Go ahead.
First of all, have we fixed our notification issue? Because quite a few of our main followers have hit us up on YouTube, and Mad Max even inboxed me on Twitter about saying he was blocked from our show.
What?
Yeah, is Mad Max here?
I didn't see him today, but he shouldn't be blocked. Let me yeah, I'm going to back.
Yeah, we need to unblock.
That.
I don't
Yeah.
know what happened, but somebody blocked Mad. Somebody blocked Mad Max.
No,
We need
man,
to
y'all can't
unblock
be
him.
blocking people without, what I'm saying, our permission or whatnot. But yeah, I'll
Our
go in the back.
approval.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't do that. Blue Collar Hustle with the super chat says Kendrick sucks. I'm sorry, Kanye sucks. I'm sorry, Kendrick. Kanye sucks, and you just don't want to say it, Mike. Let's see. CJ
So,
K with
Mike,
the super chat says, also, Mike, I need to email you about this M nonsense as well. It may be too long for a super chat, but the help he's getting is ridiculous. Yeah, we already know what that is. Il Magic with the super chat says, we actually did features from Kendrick. I'm sorry, we actually did features from Kendrick during those 5 years. The thing is, they weren't that good. They were forgettable. Exactly. That's what makes us feel like that 5 year hiatus means something, because even when he did show up, he didn't show out in the way that, let's just be perfectly honest. I mean, Kendrick, from Good Kid Mad City to Pimp a Butterfly to Damn, is at a different level than the Kendrick that we've heard in the hiatus and ever since. I mean, that's just factual. Blue Collar Hustle with the super chat says, it's not a narrative, it's a fact. And Drake did it to himself by cheating. Talk about the ghostwriting. He can never be as talented as those who write their own rhymes. Asking to move on from it is asking to legitimize fraud. This is the thing, man, and I hear what you're saying, Blue Collar Hustle, and it's a tough thing to deal with, but when you get in the game and kind of understand how a lot of the intermingles work, there's a lot of people who have a lot of help that you might think didn't have help. That's all I'm gonna say. And I think that what people are accusing, I don't even say accusing, what people have revealed from Drake in those reference tracks, a lot of guys who've done similar things that just didn't get their reference tracks exposed. I'll say that. And that doesn't take away from anybody's talent. It really doesn't. I'll say this: we do know that Drake can write his own shit, right? We do know that, right? It'd be
Zero
one
to
thing
100
if
is his best song.
what's that?
Zero to 100 is Zero to 100 is his best song to me. He definitely wrote that and he spazzed on it.
Yeah, he's written
So,
for others too. We know that.
how long have you been on, Mike?
Been
How
on
much have I missed?
for 55 minutes.
Okay, that's cool. Sorry to keep the people waiting. You want to know what happened?
What happened?
So a couple days ago, my daughter got her wisdom teeth pulled. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so she's been laid up in bed the last couple of days.
Oh man.
While I'm at work, while I'm at work yesterday, she decides to ask me if she can go have ice cream with her boyfriend right quick to kind of get out the house. She's starting to feel better, right?
Mm-hmm.
She leaves her purse at home and unfortunately is not able to get back into this house until almost 1 o'clock in the morning. Um, Mike, that'll get that ass grounded, which is
That's
what she
crazy.
is. And
Yeah.
so I actually had a conversation with her this morning before she went to work. But in the midst of me being a parent and grounding that ass, and she's grounded, you're not going to Panama City Beach, Sade. You're not going to PCB at all. You're going to be at
Mm-hmm.
home. But in the midst of doing that this morning, totally forgot about you guys because I'm a parent first.
Yeah.
So after I got done grounding that ass, I went back to sleep because I was pissed off. And
Yeah.
that's where we are.
Well,
All
we
right.
appreciate you stopping by, man. I mean, we wanted to. That's crazy, man. You got to be a parent first, and
Yeah, got to be dad first. It's definitely seething like last night and this morning. So,
yeah, and I'm sure it hurts you to have to do that too. You're probably pissed off at the whole situation. So
I mean, she's 17, but I don't give a damn.
no,
So,
no, no, no. Disobedience is
right.
disobedience. You know what I mean? You told her what it is. She knows the rules, and she disobeyed that. So
Factual.
gotta
And was
gotta
just
pay the
careless.
price for
And
it.
was just careless by leaving your purse at home. With all of your, with pretty much, I mean, a young woman's life and a grown woman's life is usually found within their purse. But that's neither here nor there, Mike. Let's get to all the shit that's going on.
Well, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I've gotten some of the people's responses from Kendrick's verse on Future and Metro's album, and I've kind of laid out my thoughts on some of the things, and I'll repeat some of them to you. But what were some of your thoughts from hearing that record?
First of all, it's unfortunate that this verse is overshadowing the fact that Future and Metro actually made a really good album, in my opinion, Mike.
They did, they did.
I mean, it's not a classic by any means,
I think it
which I
could have
think we've
been.
had.
I think that with some, we'll talk about that part. But I think that if they would have made the right cuts and stuff, it could have been. It had some high moments, some low moments.
I mean, Mike, I was actually thinking the same thing. I think the most consistent thing that we've seen since we've been doing this show for the last 4 years is that a lot of people have missed the opportunity to make a classic because they made too much material and didn't edit the process properly.
It's
Like we have a
streaming.
lot of yeah, it's the streaming era. The streaming era
Hmm.
is messing with the quality of the music because I hear classic shit on this album. Am I wrong?
I agree.
Okay.
It's just too much
And
stuff. Yeah.
it's just too much. Right.
Hmm.
And how many times have we said over the last few years, it's like, man, if they just would have cut about 2, 3, 4 songs, this is album of the year. This is a
Hmm.
hip hop classic. That's that streaming era, Mike. And
It
so it
is.
fundamentally is messing with the quality of the music. Now, before I go into my diatribe, what did you think of the verse?
I think it was a. I think it was a pace setter. I think it was. I like I told the people here before you got here. I think it was the first time that Kendrick actually jumped out the window and went all in on some of these subliminals. Like usually it would have been a line or two, but this is the first time he went all out. This reminds me of the moment on Memphis Bleak's "Mind Right, Money Right," where he said, "Your lifestyle was written. Who you supposed to be? Play your position." This could be the moment to set it off. The verse itself isn't like some all-time great diss record verse, but I do think that it will be remembered as that moment to set things off.
The first thing I thought when I heard it, I was like, you remember on Ain't No Thing, uh, by Outkast, where Andre's
Hmm.
like a nigga ready from the get go. Y'all hear my shit blow. It's Andre. Can your punk ass come out to play?
Hmm.
Those were my thoughts when I heard it. I was like, look who finally decided to come out and play.
Hmm.
All that hiding shit is not gonna work, Mike.
All the
You can't.
subliminals.
Yeah, the shit. I told you, Mike. No, you losing your rep and losing credibility out here behind it. Like you're not above the fray. You're not above Mike, and don't tell me he hasn't been listening to us
I
because
know.
we've been on that ass specifically about this. It's like first of all, your future game hasn't been like that, and first of all, you're not battle, and second of all, you're not battle tested.
Hold on,
So
hold on,
we've
hold
been
on.
on
Yeah,
that.
Mad Max was blocked. Who blocked Mad Max? Don't do that, man. I'm blocking.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool.
that's what I was over here
Don't.
doing.
No,
Yeah.
you're fine. Yeah,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know who
Mad
our
Max is
admin.
good, man.
I'm about to. When you
Do you
start
got his
talking again,
contact or something?
I got him on Twitter. I'm about to DM him right now
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
let
Let
him
him
know.
know that he's unblocked. Yeah. Don't do that, guys.
Yeah,
Um.
he's cool about it, but
Andre Williams. I'm gonna get some of these super chats. I'm gonna let you finish your thought.
go
Andrew,
ahead.
excuse me, says y'all in the chat don't use ghostwriters for yay though. Mm. Don't use
Oh,
ghostwriters
we've
for
been having this whole.
yeah. We're
We've
having a
been
ghost.
having a little. We've been having a ghostwriting conversation, of
Well,
course.
because somebody brought up the fact that what I'm saying, like Drake can't be as talented as Kendrick because he's used ghostwriters. And I think that the whole narrative or notion is the fact that Kendrick took his 5 year hiatus because he is a writer, and he's not as active as Drake because he writes his own stuff, and Drake is out here active because he has help. Is the narrative
I mean, Mike, not to be funny, has had help from Jump.
production wise and writing wise? I'm just gonna
Yeah.
be fair.
So, Mike, I was listening to Self Destruction last night, and I was listening to MC Light's verse, and I was like, I don't care who wrote that shit. Her flow is crazy on there, and it's probably the best verse on that song.
LL wrote it.
I know L wrote it, but what I'm saying is that like that's actually the standout moment of the record.
Hmm. I mean, listen, man, and I know people think that we tripping, and I want you to finish your thought, but I mean, just to the ghostwriting thing, I guess I view ghostwriting different now because, not to say too much, a lot of our favorite lyricists have been able to eat because they were able to help some of our biggest stars in that department. You know what I mean? And it's a catch 22 because do we want everybody to have to deal with the artist side of the industry? These people have careers, they have lives. If let's just say, and I'm not saying he wrote for anybody, but you know what? He has written for people. We know Big Daddy Kane's written for people. Let's just
Yeah,
say that Big Daddy
Biz.
was
He
able
wrote Biz.
to,
He wrote two of the biggest hip hop songs ever, and they're not his.
yeah, let's just say that Big Daddy Kane was able to live the lifestyle that he deserves as a lyricist by being a ghostwriter and spending more time on that in ways that he wouldn't have been able to benefit from as being an artist. Are we against that? I think that's a great thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, but
And,
go ahead.
and we have to ask ourselves, it's like, how important is ghostwriting the legacy? Like, imagine this, Mike. Imagine if Big Daddy Kane actually keeps vapors for himself.
Right. But
Like, think about what that
imagine
does
if
for his
does it
legacy as an
work?
MC.
Does it work
No, no,
to the
no. But
same level that it did with Biz?
we don't know that. But let's say
Yeah.
that it does, Mike. If it does, he's got two of the top 50 rap songs of all time under his catalog.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that changes things even about his legacy, and his legacy is already one of our better legacies, you know? And
Right.
so ghostwriting does affect things, I think, in a way. It's like Biz is a great entertainer and performer, but the Vapors ain't the type of record I would just hand off to nobody. I don't give a damn how close I am to him.
Well, again, that's a money play though, Coop. It's like if you're dealing with the BS from your label, right? Let's just say I'm an artist that put out two dope albums, but it really didn't sell like that. And I'm not really feeling where my label's going with me and my direction, budgets, or whatever. And they're keeping me captive, like Clips and Jive had that situation, right? If
Hmm.
somebody opens up the doors and says, you know what, this artist over here is a multi-platinum artist. We love the writing that you do. You'll get points on this album that's already going to sell millions of records. We just need your help in the studio. Am I supposed to just say, you know what? No. You know what I mean? Or is that a bad thing that they're reaching out to me and my skill set and see my situation and giving me an opportunity to write on a record that's going to do well? Now, granted, this person I'm writing with or helping, spawn ideas off of, they're talented in their own right and they can write their own stuff if they want to. Is it a bad thing that even exists? Honestly, I think that there's a lot of
It
people that it's helped that we don't really understand how much it's helped them in their lives.
Hip hop is such a funny artistic space, Mike, because I mean, let's go to my favorite artist and the person who I think is the greatest artist who ever lived, and that's Prince, Mike. I mean, part of his legacy and his legend to me is the fact that he gave Shaka Khan "I Feel for You."
Hmm.
He wrote nothing compares to you for Sinead O'Connor. He wrote Manic Monday. Like,
Yep.
imagine what his catalog looked like. He probably wins a Grammy for Manic Monday if he actually performs it. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like that is part of the legacy, and it so seems like writing for other people. Hip hop is the only space where it's frowned upon instead of embraced, instead of part of the legacy, or it's kind of like shuttled off to the side. Like, and we shuttle it off to the side too. I brought up Kane writing for Biz, Mike, because we talk about Kane with frequency on here, and we should, because this is a hip hop podcast, and he is so integral to this history of this game and this culture as a MC, a performer, a lyricist. But Mike, we never talk about the fact that Kane wrote for Biz, and we're
Mm.
pretty thorough. You get what I'm saying? But
Right.
we're conditioned, Mike, like even you and I are conditioned to not talk about those things.
Yeah.
We are, because it's almost like it's frowned upon, and because it's frowned upon and from so many perspectives, we almost forget to mention certain things about it to add to somebody's legacy. Like, when I think about that, it's like, I mean, I think I'm probably a little bit more of a Cool G Rap fan than a Kane fan, like me personally. But objectively speaking, Kane writing for Biz probably puts Kane ahead of G Rap in my opinion, because who is G Rap written for, and what kind of record has he written that's at that level? You get what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, again, I'm still of the mindset, and I don't want people to get what I'm saying twisted. I'm still of the mindset that, yeah, real lyricists matter, and your lyrical capability and skill set should be held super high. You know what I'm saying? Just based on what you're able to bring to the table. Like a Saha the Prince, incredible lyricist. If somebody was writing some of the stuff that I hold him high for, then yeah, I would look at him strange, like, okay, well, that's not what I thought it was. But we've said this on the show before, and I think this is the perfect example. And I know nobody's written for Jay-Z. Just putting this out here as an example, an
But
analogy.
he's taking stuff, Mike. But he's
He
taking
has,
stuff, and it's not
he
that big a
has,
difference.
and it's not that big of a difference. But he adds his own spin to it. One could say, if somebody wrote "Give It to Me" for him from top to bottom, I don't care about that as much as if somebody wrote the Evils for him. I don't. That's just the truth, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and many of these records that we talk about have ghostwriters. They're the give it to me type of records. You know what I mean? Like, they're not the dead presidents out here. They're not the evils out here. They're not even the you don't knows. Now, those to me are defining moments for Jay-Z as a lyricist. Now, if we're saying that somebody wrote somebody's defining manifestos as a lyricist, yes, I have a problem with that. I will be 10 toes down on that. Like, if somebody wrote Dear Mama for Tupac, that's a problem. But if we're talking about records like, you know, I got enemies, got a lot of enemies. I mean, just to, that's the reference track from Quentin Miller. I don't care as much if somebody came through with a melody or a chorus. I mean, they say Snoop has stuff like that too. That's fine, man. But if we talking about the lyrical manifestos, that's a problem.
What what I would submit to you, Mike, is that for us inside of this culture that are acquainted with it appropriately and properly, in my estimation, we say that and we understand that, but there is still okay. Let's go to Jay
Yeah.
would give it to me, which essentially Dame just said was Oskino's record, right?
Right.
Okay, Mike. For people outside of this fray, for like a Stephen A. Smith who made the Eminem greater than Nas comment, a record like "Give It to Me" is why people outside this sphere have Jay-Z at number one, though, because they're not familiar with the evils and dead presidents. They are familiar with "Give It to Me." So there still is some problem. It's still very problematic, Mike.
Let me get to
But
some of
it's
these
not.
super chats. Go ahead. Go
But
ahead.
it's not. It's not as problematic for those of us that are in the know. But for people like Stephen A. Smith, like because Nas doesn't make records like a "Give It to Me," like a party record per se.
Hmm.
Those are the things that have Jay ahead of Nas in a lot of people's estimation outside of
I
this
was like
fray.
that. I was like that at one point because to me it added to Jay's versatility. I was like, he can make one of these, and he said it himself. He could do it, give it to me, and then he could go out there and make what I'm saying, a dead presidents. He could make a streets is watching. Like,
Yes,
let me get to
a
some of
Biggie
these super
Tupac
chats.
level of versatility is important.
We got a $50
Oh, hold on, real quick.
chat down there. Go ahead.
Mad Max just hit me back. Mad Max is in the building. He
Yeah,
just
yeah,
hit
I
me
saw
back.
he
He
had a
said he
super
appreciated
chat
it.
too. That's what I wanted to get to.
Okay,
I'm glad he's
let
here.
go.
Jay Short with the
Yeah,
super
let go.
chat says, people saying that Kendrick's 5-year break didn't hurt need to simply look online. The reaction to the diss record is mostly negative because he chose to almost disassociate himself with the culture. Mm. Let's see. We got Leroy Green in here. Everybody's in the building today. Quentin Miller just did a Zoom class for Pendulum Inc. last week, and first to even be in the room, and first to even be in the room with the writers, you gotta be dope yourself. And second, everyone has used them in some capacity. Peace, Coop, Dad Gang. He's right. And again, I don't want to say too much, but yeah, there's a lot of people who have used writers that you guys would be shocked. That's all I'm gonna say. CJ Kid with the $20 super chat, showing love. He says, "I haven't been on in a while, in a minute, which is why I'm touching on the M stuff now. Bad enough that he had help that I sent you, but when I saw the video for Doomsday Part 2 and saw those cameos, they look like cosigns to me. His whole career is cosigns." J.I. Designs with the super chat says, "Facts, Coop. This future Metro album is fire. I wish my generation could just cut the excess songs to make undeniable classics, but I get the business of streaming. Business of streaming is messing up the actual
See, I mean,
craft."
let's look at it like this, Mike. Though, I mean, and not to split hairs, it's like no part of why we have Hit and Alchemist ahead of Metro right now, Mike.
The album.
The albums, and
Albums
so
important. That's
so
why we
it
got
does
Kendrick
matter.
ahead of Cole. That's what it is.
It's mess. So it does mess with Metro's legacy some because Mike, this should have been the album that people who are in the Metro camp, because I think Metro is looked at as the best beat maker of this generation. Being the best beat maker, like a Dilla, does not make you the best producer.
It's true.
And
And
in
I
order to
love
take
Dilla
that best producer moniker, I love Dilla too, Mike, but he's not Preem or RZA or Dre or even Ye.
because
And
of
you
the
want to know
album.
why?
Yeah.
Because we don't have the classic albums that reflect that. Now, beat for beat, Mike, I mean, and you and I have talked about this. It's like, oh, if we just talking about for one beat, Dilla's that guy, right?
I mean, I think even the whole comparison with him and Q-Tip, even early on, tells you that. People are like, "Yo, sound like Q-Tip, but better." But Q-Tip's made albums, and not
Q-Tip
saying
said
Dilla
that.
hasn't made albums because he has, but Q-Tip made Low End Theory. Let me be more specific.
There we go, Mike. There we
Let
go.
me be
It's like
more specific.
hold on. I mean, so Dilla's whole style is Q-Tip style, just done better. But where's the Low End Theory and Midnight Marauders at? Or
Yeah,
for people like you, People's Instinctive, Mike, that's three fucking classics.
I will say,
Don't
man.
tell me that
Um,
don't matter.
I will say, Fantastic is incredible, and
But Mike, it's not better than it's not Mike. It's not on the same level as those three Tribe albums. It's not.
It's not. I mean, it could
It's
be
not.
argued, and I'm gonna take my bias aside that it's on the level of people's instinctive, or but
No, it's not, Mike. Where the fuck is Benita Applebum and Can I Kick It?
I
I
would
left my
say
wallet in El Segundo.
I
Mike,
think
you know how I criticize that
climax could
album.
climax is not Benita, but it could rival it. Climax is incredible.
Mike,
Play
you're
is,
the one that
but
Mike,
yeah,
you're the one that reminded me that Benita still plays in the club, Mike. Who plays Climax?
people
Like you're
should
the
play
one that
climax,
reminded
but
me
you're
of
right.
that.
Benita's the better
And Mike,
song, but climax
and
is great.
and Mike, and you know that I feel like People's Instinctive is a great album, but not a classic. And I'm telling you this.
People's instinctive.
Footprints, Mike.
Yeah, Footprints is incredible. People's Instinctive suffers from what they made after People's Instinctive. That's
That, that's fair. No, that's fair, Mike. I
yeah.
probably feel totally different about me if like I probably feel totally different about it if it goes like The Low End Theory, Midnight Marauders, People's Instinctive. It's like, oh, it's album number 3, you know.
Yeah, it's something that they just did something different on. Rigomatic with the super chat says, salute to Coop throwing his daughter under the bus. These kids be tripping. Mad Max with the super
Wild.
chat. Mad Max with the super chat says they freed the boy. Mad Max is back. Yeah, of course, man. Just let us know. Mad Max says, good looking Coop, my man for life. Blue Collar Hustle with the super chat says, this is the second time Dot has gone all out dissing rappers. He flames Sean hard on the Heart Part 4, and Sean didn't want any problems. But I think the Heart Part 4 was still way more subliminal. This was more in your face. And I was telling the
So,
people this, man. I didn't like the Prince outlived Mike Jack line, but I get what he was trying to do. It was a double entendre. I think he was trying to say that, with all the Michael Jackson references that Drake was doing in second person shooter, substance is what, Prince represented, and catalog is what Prince represented. That outlives all the hits. But if he were ever asked about it, he could just say, in real life, Prince outlived Michael Jackson. So I didn't like that sleight of hand of Michael on any level, but I
I
get
get
what
what he
he's
was.
trying to do.
No, I get what you're trying to do too, Mike. But as an avid Prince fan, as a Prince stan, Mike, he's probably the only person I stan over. It's like nigga, Prince made a bunch of fucking hits.
He
Don't you
did.
ever be
He did.
disrespectful like that.
He did.
When Doves
It's
Cry,
kind of disrespectful to Prince too, but
that's
yeah,
what
I
I
get
mean.
what
Is
you're
it's
saying.
like you making it seem like Prince was the content artist and Michael Jackson was like the hit maker. It's like the reason that there was a legit rivalry is because Prince actually was the only person that made enough hits that were classic enough to give Mike some smoke on a hit making level. You know
Who
what I'm
said
saying?
Tribe was overrated? Block him. No, I'm just kidding. I don't block
Now
him.
they need to be blocked.
I'm joking. Don't do that.
That's wild.
Need to do the education. We need to sit him in a room like they did on that True to the Game video, Ice Cube, where he got all the sellouts and sat him in a room with Khalid Muhammad and made him listen to
Yeah.
speeches.
Definitely need
Anthony,
to do a bar seminar, Mike.
right?
Definitely.
Anthony Davis with the super chat, $20 super chat, showing love. He says, "Just saying, I love this show. Love you guys. We appreciate the love, man. Everybody's in here today. Mad Max is back with another super chat. He says, Dot finally put the Tierra down to rap, but the gas I'm hearing. It's like, but the gas I'm hearing. People acting like they heard Long Kiss Goodnight, a Nas on Desert Storm freestyle. F the big three, it's just the big me. That's not enough." Mad Max also says, Mad Max got a lot to say. He's been locked down, man. He's free. Nobody's saying it, but Drake saw this coming. That's why he acted extra nice with Cole. Exactly. He set him up. Extra nice with Cole. He knew these enemies were about to strike, and he and Cole might have a plan. This would be a great collaboration album effort. Mad Max also says, if we calling out Drake for the ghostwriting, but what about Dot? He's been a cover copy. I'm sorry, he's been coughing copy ideas and stealing flows and bars. We got to get a hold for it, but not Dot.
Okay. He
Uh,
has. I mean, if you're talking flow, he has adopted Andre's flow on multiple occasions.
True. Brandon Thompson with the
Yeah.
super chat says, everybody has help. Everybody ain't got hits. What matters is what songs you did you write, and how big was the song. MJ didn't write "Man in the Mirror." No one could sing it as their own song. Web
I
visibility.
mean,
Go ahead.
this is what I mean about how rap is different. Mike didn't write most of Thriller or Off the Wall.
He wrote.
I said
I don't think he
most.
wrote.
Did
What
you say
did
he
he
didn't write?
write on "Off the Wall"? I don't think he wrote. He wrote "Don't Stop Till You Get Enough." I think. And
I thought Day and Night. I thought he wrote Day and Night
yeah,
too.
I think "Day and Night" and "Don't Stop Till You Get Enough." On Thriller, he wrote "Beat It." Want to be starting something. The girl is mine. Billie Jean. But
Did he
yeah,
write Billie Jean?
yeah, he did. He wrote his best song.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
mean, again, I think that again, he has such a unique voice. He's getting songs from everywhere. And do you turn down great songs when they come to you?
I mean,
Let's just
Mike,
say, go ahead.
his last two epic songs to me were both songs that were handed to him, and that's "You Are Not Alone" that was written by R. Kelly and "Butterflies" written by Floetry. Like, I can't even listen to Floetry's version of "Butterflies." I'm like, because Mike just like totally took it and made it his.
Do you turn down a song written by R. Kelly? Like if R. Kelly hands somebody, "I Believe I Can Fly" or something, do you turn that down just because you say, you know what? No, I want to write my own stuff. It's a great song. But
I believe I can
like,
fly. Mike, if Michael Jackson sings "I Believe I Can Fly," it's arguably the greatest song ever made.
right, right. I mean, and
Straight up.
again, I don't want to sound like I'm sitting here co-signing ghostwriting, but I do understand. This is what I'm going to say, Coop. I think that the music industry, from a quality standpoint, was so much better. And this is in like the 60s, 70s, when we had songwriters, producers, musicians, and performers. It wasn't the performer trying to do everything. I remember Quincy talking about they didn't have drummers out here, writing songs. They had the songwriters writing songs. They had the drummers playing drum. They had the engineers being engineers. They had the trumpet players playing trumpets. They had the singers singing songs. You know what I'm saying? And you could hear the difference and the producers were bringing it all together. That was their job. You could hear the difference in the quality of music when everybody had an individual job. That's why groups like Public Enemy, their shit sounds the way it does because everybody's doing their job. Wu Tang is Wu Tang because RZA's making the beats. These guys are rapping. You know what I mean? Like it's not one person trying to do everything. And look, man, if people are able to collaborate on songs and all these people have individual talents, there's nothing wrong with somebody getting a line from here and there. Now, if you're a whole made up artist where it's like you're supposed to be this big time artist and there's this guy next to you who's really doing all the work on some Milli Vanilli shit, yeah, that's a problem.
I'd also like to point out the fact, Mike. I mean, this just seems like a sidebar. I realize, we planned to do this show just about Future and Metro, like before we knew Kendrick was even on there.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
because
yeah.
we felt like Future and Metro doing a collab album was important enough for us to both get up at like 10 in the morning after working all week to do the show. And so, like, I don't want people to think that this is like a spur of the moment Kendrick episode either. Like, Mike and I planned on doing this on Wednesday.
Yeah,
But the
man.
fact that Kendrick finally decided to come out to play, what I mean, it's a big deal. He is, as much as he thinks this is the big me, he is part of the big three of this generation.
He moves the
Um,
meter.
he does move the meter, Mike. Look how many people are in the fucking room right now.
Yeah.
Some of his handlers are probably in the room. Um, Everybody keeps making this about Drake and Kendrick, and that's just not how I see it, Mike.
How do you see it?
This is about Kendrick and Cole. Drake is just the catalyst. Like, Drake is like the instigator.
I think
So
this is
when you're saying,
about Drake and Future too, and Metro, because Metro's
mm,
been very vocal about his issues with Drake recently too.
fascinating stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is more about Cole and Kendrick, Mike, because this is what I mean to know. Well, as battle tested as Drake is, if Kendrick comes with his A game, Drake's in trouble. But the J. Cole that we've been hearing, Mike, like when I heard the verse, I said to myself, oh, that's not good enough for the level that Cole's operating on. That was my first thought about the verse. I was like, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
Not for Cole. Not for the way Cole operating, Mike.
No.
And so,
He's in practice. That's why the 5 years is important, guys.
right. And it's like, is the verse dope? Yeah. Is it really dope? Yeah. Mike, it's not on the level of any of the Cole verses we've been hearing, though. Isn't that fair to say?
Yeah.
And so, what if Cole makes Kendrick the focus? That's what we need to be checking for. It's like everybody's looking for the Drake diss. I'm like, no.
Well, the
We
Drake diss is
like
coming. I mean, the thing is,
Drake diss is coming.
I don't think Drake can push as we've been talking about for the past year, and then when Kendrick jumps out the window like this, say nothing. Now, I think we're
Mhm.
past the point of Drake coming with a response verse. I think Drake should hit him with a full record because what we've never seen in Kendrick's whole career, he's never done a full out diss record on somebody. We've heard verses with little subliminals here and there, but he's not proven in the space of doing a full out diss record. And if Kendrick's handlers are in the room, I mean, that's just factual information. He has not, even with this whole back and forth, he has not come with a full diss record. You know what I'm
No, it's
saying?
time
So
to
I
dance,
think what
Mike.
Drake should do, he should pull another one of those charged up situations. Oh, web
No,
visibility with a $50 super chat. Showing super love out here. He says, Mike, I disagree with your comment about ghostwriters on Give It To Me versus the Evils. Part of the greatness of a top MC is the ability to do commercial records and the lyrical miracle rhymes. That's the greatness of Big. I'm glad you said that. I was going to say, before Big, who really did that, though?
Pac.
I mean, Pac was more so on I'm talking about the lyrical miracle stuff. Pac was more of on a substance, core level. He had those records, but the big commercial records and being able to make Kick in the Door and stuff like that. I mean, who else did that other
I
than Big,
mean,
really?
Big just New York Pac style, which is he took the street records and the hit records and made them lyrical. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, does Tupac have like a lyrical manifesto, like a kick in the door? Like, no, he doesn't. But it's still his blueprint, Mike.
Do we not
The,
give Puffy any credit for that? Because without Puffy in the fold, those quote unquote commercial records mixed with the core records wouldn't exist for Big either.
yeah, I mean, Mike, Big wanted to release Machine Gun Funk as the first single. That should let you know what type of like hip hop aesthetic Big has.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Puff was able to find stuff that Big would be comfortable with commercially as well. Web visibility
yeah.
with super chat says, "Is it true that Nas wrote for Will Smith? That would be another reason why Nas is the greatest of all time." Many people are denying it, but I think it's
I
something.
mean, when it happened, I believe Nas himself said at the time when he was asked about it, like when it actually happened, like when Big Willie Style was getting made, that he didn't write the records for Will, but that he was in the studio with Will, like he was kind of like Phil Jackson to Kobe. You know
Right,
what I'm saying? It's like, no, you run the triangle like this, Kobe,
right.
not like that. You can't shoot the jumper like that. You got to pass the ball around and then you shoot the J. So it was kind of one of those situations, the way that he explained it at the time that it happened.
Jay Short with the super chat says, "Falling in Love off of Fantastic is a Stone Cold classic." Coop, I know you're gonna say something to combat it on how somehow with a sports or historical example. LOL. Peace, OG. CJ Kid also says Mad Max super chat like Tupac coming out of jail and the double LP worth of chats. Double LP worth of chats. Welcome to A2HH. Like we about to do it's time. Like we about to do this time. Gary Pierce with the super chat says Coop pimping in the robe. K Dot's versus okay at best. Mad Max with another super chat says, and remind the chat, Kendrick hasn't made a hip hop album since To Pimp a Butterfly. Damn was him on pop beats, with the exception of DNA, which he stole the hook and flow from an underground artist. First time hearing about that. Brandon Thompson with the super chat says, "Coop, I'm with you. I'll take MJ over Prince personally, but when you write the songs, especially in rap, you command more respect." Mad Max with another super chat says, he ain't been hip hop like Jay Short said since 2015 to 16. I mean, even the ad libs on his verse was cheesy. He sounded like a suburban kid. OG Weston with the super chat says the competitive nature of hip hop is why having ghostwriters is frowned upon. How can you truly say that you're better if you had help with your pen? 100. I think that is a great example. You're right. J.I. Design
Yeah,
with the super chat says, I said it before. Cole has more to gain in this battle. Who do you think has the most to gain here?
it's Cole, Mike. Because here's what I would submit to you. What if Cole tells Drake, like, hey, why don't you sit this one out? I got this. Has anybody thought about that? He's like, because here's the thing, Mike. This is like this is a big, big year for Cole, Mike.
It
Because
is.
it's like
This makes the moment even bigger.
this makes the moment massive, Mike, because this could be the year that he really does leapfrog
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of people. Because if he can if he can fade Kendrick, who most people feel is the best MC of his generation, and even you and I have said, even with everything that Cole's done, and even with everything that Drake has done, it's still Dot. And this is why albums matter, because Dot made To Pimp a Butterfly and Good Kid, Mad City and Section 80 and Damn.
Mm-hmm.
But if he can fade him, and if he can fade him in the same year, then he makes album of the year. That's like winning the Golden Slam. Do you know what the Golden Slam is in tennis?
Tell the people.
Okay, so in 1988, Steffi Graf won all four majors, and she went to the Olympics and won the gold medal. That's the Golden Slam. She won all four majors and she won the gold medal. If Cole can make the album of the year and fade Kendrick, that would be hip hop's equivalent to doing the Golden Slam, because I've often referenced tennis in relationship to hip hop, because there is some one on one to hip hop that is very tennis like. It's like, no, motherfucker, it's just you and the person on the other side of the net.
Right.
You know, it's like, now what
Yeah.
you got? Like, ain't no excuses, Mike. It's like you're either in shape and your forehand and your backhand and your slice and your volley game is working, or it isn't. In hip hop, it's like, well, your flow, your delivery, your lyrics, your songwriting ability, your cadence, your album making ability. It's like, well, your competition's on the other side. You got it or you don't.
Yeah.
And so,
It's a one on one.
what I would really it's one on one, and what I would really like to see happen, Mike, is I would like to see Cole and Kendrick dance.
It's time.
It's time. It's time.
It's past
It
time.
feels, Mike. You want to know what it feels like though?
I
When
don't
I
think
heard the
Drake's gonna
Kendrick
sit it
verse,
out though.
no, he's too petty to sit it out.
Yeah.
But you know what it felt like, Mike? Kendrick's verse very much felt like what Jay did to Nas at Summer Jam with the Takeover.
Mm-hmm. It's
It feels
exactly what
like
it
that.
felt
Like
like.
like it gave me, like, I haven't felt excited about something like battle wise since then. Like, that's the feeling that it gave me. Like, ooh, it's
Yeah.
really finally fucking on.
It's
Because
really
people
happened.
forget Nas and Jay was saying little funky shit to each other for a minute, Mike. It was about 2.5 years of like, well, who else could he be talking about? It's like, well, he didn't say his name, so we don't really know. It's like, but it's obvious that he's talking about this guy, right? And
Yep.
this has some of the makings of the same thing. So when he's saying, like, it's not the big three, it's the big me. To me, that's the equivalent of saying, "Ask Nas, he don't want it with Hove."
Exactly.
No,
That's exactly what
it's
it is.
it's
And
the
that
it's
and
the
I think somebody said it earlier. That one was directly aimed at Cole. That had nothing to do with Drake right there, because
correct.
Cole is
But
the
Mike,
one
but
that
that's the
highlighted the
standout
big
moment of
three. He's the one that said all three of their names in this record. You know what I mean? And see, I think the crazy part though, fans have always wanted this J. Cole and Kendrick album. And it hasn't happened. And it's one of those 3,000 things where we know why it hasn't happened, but no one's going to say anything about it. But Drake comes along and says, you know what? I'm going to be the bigger person, if you will. Me and J. Cole are going to go on tour. We're going to do music together. We're going to do all of these things that everybody wanted y'all two to do, and now there's a problem. Kendrick, you should have made the effort with J. Cole. What's the problem? Was he ducking
I
J.
told
Cole for his bar work? I mean, I don't know.
at the time that it didn't happen, you wouldn't say that because I
Yeah,
would tell you that at the time that they were supposed to collaborate, most people would tell you that Kendrick was a better lyricist than Cole. And so I don't
because of the
think
Black
that, but
Friday
also
thing, that made its case too. When they switched off records, and Kendrick was Kendrick on his record.
no, absolutely. But like I've told you, Mike, like this J. Cole that we've been hearing the
Yeah,
last two, three,
he's
4
different.
years, that guy different, Mike.
Yeah, he
Like
is.
he's like he raps, Mike. Like right now, Mike, he raps at a Black Thought, Rakim, Nas level, lyrically speaking.
We
Like
were
he has
talking different
ascended.
about J. Cole when we even started the show. Even
Yeah,
the
no,
one
Mike.
that, yeah,
No, he has ascended, Mike. Like
hmm,
lyric. How about this? I'm more impressed, not song wise, not album wise, but I'm more impressed with where J. Cole is lyrically as an MC than I have ever been with Kendrick. You understand what I'm saying?
wow.
Not not saying not saying songs, because Mike, I've told you this about Kendrick. Mike is like, where's the verse of the year at? Where's
Hmm.
Mike? Where's the verbal intercourse verse, Mike? Where's the life's a bitch verse? Where's the shook ones part two verse, Mike?
But his
Like
feature game ain't
Mike,
heavy.
Mike even has a songwriter. It's like, where's the mind playing tricks on me verse? You know what I'm saying? Like, where is it? And I would submit to you that, like, no. J. Cole done dropped some verses that may not be those verses, but wheelhouse, Mike, in the
Yeah.
wheelhouse, you know?
Mad
And
Max
Kendrick
was
doesn't have that still. Do I still think he's the better songwriter and album maker? Well, yes, because the catalog says that. But that's what I keep telling you about Cole. It's like when you, Mike, usually when guys rap the way Cole's rapping right now, Mike, there's usually a classic album coming around somewhere in the fray of rapping at this level, Mike.
especially when a back and forth comes about, and the classic album is right around the corner. That's why I was telling people, I'm excited about this. And, I'm not sitting here promoting no beef or anything like that, but I will say in hip hop, people are at their best when the competitive fervor is at its highest. It's just like what we were talking about with the NBA All Star game. It was terrible because there's no competitiveness in the league to that level. But when guys really want to go out there and be the best and it's become personal, then the fans win because of the material that comes out and the lyrical excellence and the attention to detail. Now you're going to get somebody making an album because there's things at stake now. It's not just another album.
I mean, Mike, I'm not I'm not promoting violence or any physicality in any sort of way, but I am going to promote the beef, Mike. Because quite frankly, Mike, and everybody that knows me knows this, Mike. I can't stand all this happy getting along shit. I can't stand it, Mike. It makes me sick to my stomach. Oh, look at everybody wanting to be friends. That's so fucking cute. Get the fuck out my face with that. This is rap. Can't stand that shit. Makes me sick to my stomach, Mike. I'm about as excited as I ever been. Mike, when I woke back up and realized I missed your call, nigga, I threw on this robe so quick and ran downstairs. Like, oh yeah, because it's fucking on now.
Game time, man. And the people was ready too, man. We got everybody in here. Mad Max got another super chat. He says, talking about
Fucking happy shit.
he sounds like the audible future. He been using that flow since damn, which is why Future is the second best rapper of the 2010s after Drake. Your hip hop saver is using Future's style. CJ Kid with the super chat says, "I love you guys, but please make sure to give your bodies rest as long as you need. No artist or album should be over our health. We need it. Definitely need it, man. We got you. Appreciate it." Jay Short with the $20 super chat showing love. He says, the Kendrick slash Cole situation reminds me of Tyson Holyfield. When Tyson was gone, Holyfield was the man. Tyson had to be looking like, dude is cool, but he's not me. Let's hope Kendrick has more in the tank than Tyson did. Mm. Blue Collar Hustle with the super chat says, Nas 3 writing credits on Big Willie Style and a writing credit for just cruising on Men in Black soundtrack. Just Cruising was Jay. You know what? It's funny, man. I was riding around listening to Just Cruising not too long ago, and me and Mickey Fax was having a conversation about ghostwriters, and he gave me some insight saying that artists always leave their DNA on the track, right? And I remember knowing that Jay wrote Just Cruising for Will because we was talking about summertime and stuff, and we played Just Cruising. It's like, oh yeah, that's Jay. It was very clear that it was Jay too. Steve Stout confirmed that Nas wrote these songs. But yeah, go listen to Just Cruising. That's Jay. Dre
I
Seven.
mean, Steve Stout is a marketing guy,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
in his claim to fame, really in hip hop, is Nas, and it was written. So it's like, which is around the same time. So it's like, of course, he's going to advocate for Nas.
Yeah. Dre Seven with the super
Yeah.
chat says Nas definitely ghost wrote for Will during the Big Willie style, and definitely on the Men in Black soundtrack. Just go listen to Will's song "Cruising" on the Men in Black, and Nas got writing credit. Listen, hold on, let me pull it up right now, man. I could have swore that Jay got writing credits on Just Cruising, and when you listen to Just Cruising, that is clearly Jay. Web
I do,
visibility.
I do remember there being an N Jones on about 2 to 3 tracks on
Yeah, 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 yeah. And again, but we know Will can rap, right?
Mike. He still might be the most underrated rapper of all time.
That's saying a lot. Web
He
visibility
can
with the
rap,
super
Mike.
chat says the comment section seems to agree that Nas wrote for Will Smith. He's on the album credits, and that Nas wrote for Puff. Everybody wrote for Puff.
Mike, everybody wrote for Puff, Mike.
Who's Puff's best writer?
I
Mace
mean,
or Jada?
Mike, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Oh,
Like
Nas did write Just Cruising. I thought that was Jay. Yeah,
he okay, that's cool. That's what's up. Mike, when I found out Jadakiss wrote the All About the Benjamins verse, that sealed it for me, Mike, because
well, that's
that
his
is
best
Puff's
work.
best verse, and it's his most memorable moment has on the mic, is it not?
Straight
What
up.
y'all want to do? Want to be ballers, shot callers, brawlers, who be dipping in the bins with the spoilers, on the
Mm.
low from the Jake and the Taurus, trying to get my hands on some grants like Horace.
Yeah, living the raw
Yikes.
deal. Three
Yikes,
course
Mike.
meal,
We thought,
spaghetti,
Mike,
fettuccine,
I,
veal.
I mean, Mike, my thought was always that Big wrote that verse because the verse was so great. I was like, yeah, Big had to write that shit before he died.
Well, All About the Benjamins is the greatest posse cut of all time. And Lil
I
Kim
agree, Mike.
has possibly the best verse on there.
No, she has the
Standout
best
verse.
verse on there, Mike.
So,
I mean, I love Big's verse. Like Big is big on that record, Mike. But there's something about Kim's verse. It's the best verse on the best posse cut record ever, and that's why she's the greatest woman to ever pick up a microphone, Mike. Because
eh,
how about this, Mike? Lauren Hill can't get on a record like that and do what Kim did, even if she's a better lyricist. She can't do that on the mic with those dudes. That's Jada Kiss and Big, and she not gonna blend in like Kim and do that.
dressed in all black like the Omen. Have your
Have your
friends
friends
saying this
saying
is
this
for my
is
own.
for my homies.
Yo,
No, you want to feel his
yo, man,
womb
you
because
making
it's
niggas
platinum
so sick.
coated. Yeah.
Yo, man, like want to rumble with
All
the
that
beat,
bullshit. But
huh?
hold on. What'd she say? All that bullshit you kick player hating from the sidelines. Get
Get
your
your
own
own
shit.
shit.
Why you riding mine? Yo, that shit
I'm a good
crazy,
fella
Mike.
type of lady. Stash 380s and Mercedes. Puffy hold me down, babe. Only female in my crew. And I kick shit like a nigga do.
Like a
Nigga
nigga do.
do. Fuck you. Yo, that verse
Fuck
is
you.
crazy.
That person is crazy,
And
Mike.
it's got Jada, Sheik, Biggie, and Puff's best verse on it. And not to mention one of the greatest beats of all times on it. It's the greatest posse cut in hip hop history.
Yeah, it is.
And it brought All About the Benjamins to the lexicon too. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
posse cut that keeps giving. Mad
It's
Max.
actually, Mike, it's actually the song that symbolizes the bad boy era the most too, Mike.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Mad Max with the super chat says, and let's be clear, Dot was on Take Care saying that he's jealous of Drake. He's out here saying that he is a big stepper, but Cole had to savage you from Diddy. Had savage you from Diddy. Both Cole and Drake can use that to embarrass him. I forgot about that. He said savage you. I think he meant Cole had to save you from Diddy. Yeah, I forgot about that part. I guess that could be used in the record too. JR Designs with the super chat says, if you paid attention, every record Cole and K Dot have done except for Black Friday, K Dot hasn't rapped. He's opted to sing. Mm.
No,
Andrew
no,
Williams
no.
with the
I'm
super chat.
Mike. I'm
We've
glad.
noticed.
I'm glad that that happened. I'm glad that that's happened because guess what, Mike? We have no reference on how this should go.
We have no reference. Neither one of them really has a track record for diss records either. The only one that's battle tested is Drake.
Right. That's why I'd like him to stand down.
He can't stand down now. He amped this up because
Yes,
if
he
he
very
amped
much
this
Don
up
King
to
the
this
situation.
point,
Mike, he Don King the situation.
he did. Privileged rappers, man. Andrew Williams in the super chat says, in my opinion, Kendrick's diss was bad timing. He should have waited until Cole dropped his album or the week of. He gave Cole way too much time to fry him. Not smart.
It's in a
Mad
lot of
Max with
trouble.
the super chat said he must have more in the chamber. He's got to have more in the
He,
chamber.
Mike, you and I have been through this with him before. And I told you, Mike, I was like, nah, Mike, he's coming. He got something left. And you were like, nah, he ain't got nothing left. Because if he had something left, he would have dropped it. And since you said that, Mike, and proved me wrong and prove yourself to be right, I'm not going to co-sign him having anything in the tank until he shows us that he has it in the tank, Mike. This is a show improved sport. You're only as good. You're only as funky as your last cut, Mike. Since he liked to steal Andre's flow so much, you're only funky as your last cut.
Well, this is what I said before you got on. The people in Interscope are the smartest people in the music business. And I truly believe that they wouldn't, and Kendrick wouldn't have done this either, they wouldn't have let him get on such a high profile album saying these things if he didn't have something. I just don't believe it. Like, I think this
Mike,
right
I don't
here
believe
is a set off moment.
no, Mike. They let him drop that trashy album, so I don't believe that anymore. They let him. That album is Mike. That album is terrible.
It's not all
Okay,
that. It's not all that.
the album is terrible. The album is terrible. I'm tired of everybody. It's just okay. Coop. No, it's not. It's bad. Mike, if Big Sean makes that album, people are like, stop his career. It's over. Okay, that album is bad. Mike, I'm gonna tell you something. Somebody, Mike, somebody who is in the conversation. I can't say who. Somebody who is definitely looked at as one of the greatest MCs of all time. And I know this because I got the information from somebody close to him. When they heard Mr. Morale in the Big Steppers and heard some of the records off of it, literally asked Kendrick, like, yo, where's the records at?
Mm.
Like,
Matt,
not a critic, Mike. Not a critic, Mike. One of our goats, like asked him, like, yo, like, where the real records at? Like,
mm.
what you doing?
Uh,
Okay? Album ain't no good. And until he
Matt,
does something good, I don't want to hear that shit.
he got a lot to prove here. I think he got something in the tank. Mad Max with the super chat says, "You saying you Prince, and I have the catalog don't mean nothing in a battle where you on record saying that you were jealous of one of the guys and the other guy saved you." Blue Collar Hustle with the super chat says, "Why would Dot make an album with Cole when he go platinum and go and sell out tours on his own and win Grammys by himself? He didn't do that with TDE with a TDE album. Dot is for Dolo." He said he didn't do a TDE album. Dot is for Dolo. I mean, you can do that for the fans.
Cole,
You know what I mean?
but Cole can do the same thing. Like I don't think people understand. Like
Cole's
I
done
think
numbers.
when Cole act, yeah, I mean people acting like Cole don't do numbers. Like first of all, ain't nobody doing Drake numbers except for Eminem. But Cole's numbers and K Dot's numbers are comparable.
I mean, shit. Jay-Z and Kanye did an album together. And they both were doing numbers, so you know. Dre7 with the super chat says, Mike, I think you're letting your bias cloud your judgment. Drake using J. Cole like Nino Brown did the little girl at the wedding as a human shield. Drake playing chess. It's going to be a long day for both. I don't know, guys. Again, I hear what you're saying in a vacuum, but Drake's the only one that's battle tested here. He's done this multiple times. Common,
You know why I love
Pusha, Meek, um, who else am I missing? Common, Pusha, Meek, the whole Joe Budden thing. He's done this before. Kendrick's never done this.
Common.
Yeah, I
Common.
mentioned Common. Yeah.
Oh, you did? I mean, Mike, that's four hitters.
Yeah,
That's four hitters.
he's done
So
this
I tell you what,
before. He knows what he's
here's why
doing.
it's different, Mike, and here's why what makes this moment so big. So this is the first time that the Titans have clashed in an era where the media moves so fast and has so much access to the narrative. So here's what I'm saying. So like, I think Nas and Jay is like everybody's battle rhyme template. Well,
Right.
Mike, that happened in a time where Jay, because of his stature and because of his access to certain things that Nas just wasn't about to play those games, he was still able to control some of the narrative. So that loss that he took didn't look as bad as it really should have looked. Because he took an L, Mike.
He did.
He got ate up. And if anybody other than Jay at the time that happened, or Rakim in I'd say '88, that would have happened to, their career would have been over. And so the way the media cycle works now, Mike, the way guys like you and me work, and Fresh Out and Rap Roundtable, and bigger guys like Ebro and Rosenberg and Hoffa and of course Budden, like, oh no, Mike, this some legacy changing shit that's about
It
to go
is.
down.
It is.
Like the
2024 is
three of
about to
their
be real hot
legacies,
in hip hop.
the three of their legacies are about to be different after this is done.
You're right. And the next few months is very important.
It's very important. But Cole's the one that is most important for, Mike, because like, man, he's so close to leapfrogging both of them this year. It's looking big.
Blue Collar Hustle with the super chat says, just cruising is Nas. Check the credits. It's Nasir Jones. Yep, just did. Appreciate that. KC1 with the super chat says, y'all consider Wu songs posse cuts? And I was listening to Hollow Bones, very underrated. Hollow Bones is incredible. I don't consider Wu songs posse cuts because they're a group. They're signed as a group. They build as a group. They make music together all the time. Posse cuts are people who don't normally make music together, coming together to make one joint. I would
If
say
Wu Tang,
three or more different acts, if you will.
right? If Wu Tang gets included in the posse cut conversation, it's just not fair to like literally everybody else who's ever rapped.
Yeah, they're a group. They're accustomed to making music together, so it's a little different. You know what I mean?
I mean, to be honest with you, Mike, they kind of like people understand how much Wu Tang changed the landscape of things. It's like we had never really heard more than four guys on a record before, unless it was like a self destruction or all in the same gang. Like no, it's like they did what we maybe heard three or four times, like on their first album. That's what made it so groundbreaking. It's like, hold on, like all these dudes, hold on, who was that? Who they all gonna rap on record? Like on the same record? Like Protect Your Neck, Mike, is probably the most innovative rap song in the history of rap, just because we had never heard nine niggas jump on a song before.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was
Yeah,
crazy, Mike. It
that's
was like
yeah,
it, it
and
was
rap
like it
like
was like
that to that level.
right, Mike. That's what I mean. It is like, by the time Meth is done with his verse, you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Right. It's another guy. It's another guy coming. You don't even know who your favorite rapper is yet. They keep coming.
Mike, I can remember the first few times. I think we remember moments like this because it's part of like, our upbringing and our formative years in the 90s, Mike. But I can remember Old Dirty Bastard is the only one who identified himself really on Protect Your Neck.
Yeah.
And the RZA shouting out the genius at the end, like those were the only identifiable parts. Other than that, you were just listening to a bunch of guys rap their ass off that you had never heard before. It's like, man, who the fuck are these guys and where did they come from? Like it almost seemed like a spaceship landed from outer space, like on the hip hop when they came. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it
Like, where did
did.
these guys come from?
It did.
It's like they sitting up here using like fucking kung fu flicks, and there's like 9-10 of them. It's kind of intimidating to the industry.
It is. Dre7, excuse me, says nothing about Just Cruising even sounds remotely close. Technically, I'm sorry, technically. You should go back and listen, Mike. I'm gonna go back and listen because I remember listening, feeling like Jay wrote it, but the credits say nah. So I want all of us to go listen to Just Cruising. See what you hear. Jay Short with the super chat says, we are over a decade in, and the biggest story of the year is Drake, J. Cole, and Kendrick's beef. Not to sound like an old head, but these new rappers ought to be ashamed of themselves. True. J.I. Design with the super chat says, Drake equals LeBron, K. Dot is Steph, and Cole is Durant. What do you think about that?
Mm, in a lot of ways, that's true. I get the reference point.
I don't know if I feel like K Dot is Steph. Maybe they mean the championships being the albums and then being a collective for. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, but I
See,
mean,
but I get it.
but here's what I'm saying. But that depends. Are you of the train of thought like I am? Because I don't care what anybody says. Like forever, Durant's going to be an all-time greater player than Steph. They played on the same team in their prime, and he was clearly the best player on the team. Like that's the end of that discussion. Like I don't care how many rings Steph won before or after, because it's a team sport. But player to player, Mike, those 2 rings and those 2 Finals MVPs belong to KD.
I think Drake's more Steph, to be honest. I think Drake's better collaborating. I mean, I think even this second person shooter is basically Steph getting Durant. You know what I'm saying? And I think that
Right,
the way that
right.
Kendrick has isolated himself kind of makes him the LeBron in this situation.
And he's been the
But
front
there's a
runner, Mike.
gap there. Yeah. He's the front runner.
He's been the front he's been the front runner in our consciousness of this, but also too, it's like, but this is what I'm saying. Cole is very much Durant from this perspective. He's the one that we've always looked at the package of the game, and it's like,
Oh, he's
oh yeah,
Durant.
all he needs to do is deliver.
Yeah.
All he needs to
There's
do is
no
deliver
question there.
because the
He's the
package is
Durant.
there. Yeah,
He's Durant. Yeah.
yeah.
There's no question there. CJ Kidd with the super chat says, you guys are saying if K Dot loses, he can't make an excuse, miss me to save him. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Excuses. It says he can't make an excuse me miss to save him. This was a joke, by the way. You know, excuse me miss was an interesting record. It was a game changing record, but the timing of it, man, Blueprint 2, this should be a documentary made on the Blueprint 2 and the time period that it came out and everything that must have been going on at Rockefeller at that time. Not to mention that the whole crew was about to break up. You had the whole ether looming. And really, for a double album and an artist like Jay-Z, the album only had 2 singles off of it. Like, he only shot 2 videos. And one of them was with Beyonce. It was '03 Bonnie and Clyde or '02 Bonnie, whatever it was. '02 Bonnie and Clyde, or was it '03? I know it came out in '02, but they might have called it '03. And excuse me, miss.
I mean, Mike, I'll tell you this: if you ever wanted some evidence that Nas won the battle, go listen to the Blueprint 2, because
The
never on
song
an
or the
album,
album?
the album.
Mm.
Because here's the thing about it: never has Jay felt so discombobulated. Never has a Jay-Z album. Not saying that there haven't been worse albums, but never has a Jay-Z album felt so discombobulated and all over the place. And never have you heard Jay-Z rap like he had a point to prove,
Yep.
except for that. And
Even
that's a
on the
direct
Watch It.
relationship. Yeah, that's a direct relationship to knowing that he took that L. Like, I don't
Mhm.
care what anybody else says. He knows, and the evidence is the Blueprint 2, because he was out of sync, Mike, and he was scrambling. And as far as a mic performance goes, Mike, it was the first time I heard him try to prove that he was the best MC. Like, he always talked, acted, and rapped like it. And part of always what made him so cool is the fact that he would say it but didn't seem to be concerned with it. He is very much concerned with his stature on the Blueprint 2 as an MC.
Because from Volume 2 to the Blueprint 2, or I would say Blueprint 1, he was rapping with ease. Like you said, he was too cool for school, you know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
Blueprint 2 is where he started like getting his couplets together. He was rapping at a rate. Like you could hear the hunger. He was hungry on other records, but it was on some chill shit. Like even if you hear like Jigga, what's my motherfucking name? Like he's chilling on there, but he's snapping on there, man. Like he's really rapping on there. But the Blueprint 2, it's an intensity that we hadn't heard since damn near Volume 1, really.
It's a volume 1 level intensity, but this is what I mean, Mike. How about this? We always talk about the missteps on volume 1. Like, it's like double, triple the missteps on the Blueprint 2 that's on volume 1. He all
Yeah.
over the place, Mike. And I'm like, yeah, that's what happens when you get left leaning a little past 6, Mike.
CJ Kidd with the super chat says bigger influence / impact, NWA or Wu Tang? NWA. When
I'll
NWA
take
came,
Wu-Tang.
when NWA came, we haven't turned that clock back. Like just the content alone. They changed the content. They are the parental advisory. I know that Uncle Luke fought for the parental advisory and went to court for it, but from a commonality standpoint, just making it commonplace to curse like that on record, saying nigga like that on record, when NWA hit, we've never turned that clock back. They're the Lil
I think
Kim of hip hop in
that's
that.
fair. Well, here's why I would say Wu Tang, Mike. Um, People always attribute the East Coast resurgence to Big and the Nas and the Bad Boy and all that, Mike, but it really starts with Enter the Wu Tang. Enter the Wu Tang is the resurgence of the East Coast. Because to be honest with you, Enter the Wu Tang is the only album to come out of the East Coast since the Low End Theory that you can say rivals the stuff that was being made by the West Coast artists. No, it rivals a Doggy Style.
Yeah,
It rivals a Death Certificate. It rivals the Chronic. Those
they
other
gave us
albums
a
the East
true
Coast cats was
crew.
making, they got New York crewed up again, Mike. They
Yeah.
did, and I don't think they get enough credit for it because I think most of the credit goes to Big and Puff and Bad Boy. But no, Mike, it's Wu. Wu is who bought the East Coast back, Mike. Because this is why the quality matters, Mike. Like, do you think Ready to Die is better than Doggy Style, The Chronic, or Death Certificate?
Mm-mm. I think that
I
Ready
think
to
Into the
Die
Wu.
could be better than Death Certificate, maybe. But it's not better than Doggy Style the Chronic now.
See, but here's the thing: you can make a legit argument that Enter the Wu Tang is just as good as Doggy Style or The Chronic. Enter the
Oh,
Wu Tang is a top 10 rap album, right? And as far as innovation goes, it's more innovative than all three of those West Coast albums that I've named, and lyrically better than all of those albums too. And
lyrically, but
and
maybe not innovation. I think Chronic has a lot of innovation. A lot.
no, Mike, it's not Enter the Wu Tang. To me, Enter the Wu Tang most innovative rap album ever made.
Hmm. That sounds like
Period.
another station head.
Mike, Mike, who the fuck? Like Mike, the mystery. Like when I was reading the titles, I was like the mystery of chess box, and I'm like, what the fuck are
Yeah,
they talking about?
yeah, yeah. The song
Mystery of
titles,
chess
yeah.
box.
Wu Tang took that to another level, man.
Shame on a nigga. Bring the ruckus. Clan in the front. Like when they say clan in the front, I was like, these some white boys or something. Like what the fuck going on? And here's the thing about it. And here's what they have that most East Coast albums don't have. It's like, oh no, Cream rivals nothing but a G thing and What's My Name and Gin and Juice.
Mm.
It has the records. Like it has the records that rival it as well. That's what I'm saying. It's like, oh no, it's like play nothing but a G thing. I can play Cream. You know what I'm saying? Play Murder Was the Case. I can play Wu Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
Mm.
Play Little Ghetto Boy. I can play Can It Be All So Simple. You feel what I'm saying?
We got to hear these back to back. No, I think that's a good one. Mad Max of the Super Chat says Drake's LeBron, Future is Steph Curry. Ah, I can see that. Cole is K Dot. I'm sorry, not Cole. It's K Dot. Cole is I'm sorry, Kevin Durant. He says Dot is Kawhi Leonard, and that's me overrating Dot because Kawhi is better at basketball than Kendrick is at rapping. Damn, the hate.
Glad to
I
have
can see
Mad
the
Max back.
Kawhi thing, but nah, man. Kendrick made good kid, Mad City, man. Um,
I like the Future reference because Future is a game changer.
yeah,
The
in the
same way
way that
Steph
Steph
has been a
is.
game changer.
Yeah, and a constant collaborator in the way that Steph is too. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, "I blame Cat Williams. He set the tone for this."
No, he didn't. That's
J.I.
hilarious.
Designs with the super chat says, "Let me clarify what I said. Drake is LeBron. He's the most consistent, and as long as he is in his prime, he'll be in the championship reign. Sleet or snow. I get that though. The longevity side of it and just being at the top for so long, I could see Drake being LeBron in this conversation. Marquez with the super chat says, "Agree with you, Coop. This is big for Cole. It's time. You've been rapping with everyone, Benny, Royce, etc. He has some incredible verses. Time to claim that spot." Jay Short with the super chat says, "Is there any hip hop list that we could put together into where a Southern or West Coast artist, producer, or album is at number one?" Huh. Let me read that again. Jay Short said, "Is there any hip hop list that we could put together enter where a Southern or West Coast artist, producer, or album is at number one? Probably not. I mean, maybe an Outkast when it comes to groups. Outkast did get best hip hop group of all time on Billboard, and I don't think people were outraged
Dr.
with
Dre
that.
producer.
Yeah, Dr.
Dr.
Dre's
Dre
hip hop's
producer.
greatest producer. Yeah. As
Yeah.
far as the album goes, I mean that's tough. It's tough.
I think I mean, Mike, here's the thing. The East Coast has like the variety to lean on. It's like, no, they have It Takes a
They had a
Nation of
quick
Millions.
start. Yeah,
Well, they got It Takes a Nation of Millions,
yeah,
but they also have Illmatic. But they
yeah.
also have the Purple Tape. But they also have Enter the Wu Tang. But they also have the Low End Theory, Mike. All five of those albums are like drastically different, but like
And
all
they
great on
all
the
come
same
from
level.
different places, though. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when people, I mean, if people aren't from New York or visited New York, I mean, the different boroughs are totally different places. You know what I mean? Like, you mentioned an album from Queens, you mentioned an album from Long Island, you mentioned an album, you know what I'm saying, from Brooklyn. You mentioned,
Staten Island.
yeah, Staten Island. Like, these are totally different places. So, New York geographically and culturally
Yeah.
has that advantage over most markets anyway.
I came from Mike. It's like here is the difference with Cali and New York, just geographically speaking. Mike, when you're in LA, Inglewood, Watts, Compton, Long Beach, it feels comparable to each
Hmm.
other. When you're in New York, it's like, no, like, how about this, Mike? When I was up there, when I left Queens and went over to Long Island, I could tell I wasn't in Queens anymore.
Oh yeah, it's a whole different. Yeah,
It's like,
I
where the
got to
fuck
get
is
up out of here
what's
in a
happening?
second, Coop.
Me too. But like when I was looking around, I was just like, yo, I was like, where am I? I was like, then I started looking
Yeah,
around. I was like, oh, this is Long Island. This ain't Queens no more. I was like, yeah, this shit don't feel like Queens.
yeah, it's a whole different place. DJ Kid with
Yeah,
the
it's a
super
whole different
chat.
place, Mike. But it's connected, Mike. But it's
Hmm.
connected. But you feel like it's like literally it's like going through a portal into another world when you go into another borough.
Well, you gotta get on a ferry boat to get to Staten Island. It's a whole different place, literally, on all levels. CJ Kid with the super chat says Machiavelli the 7 day super chat with all the furious anger towards K Dot. All eyes on Max today, for sure. Free Mad Max. Um, So yeah. What are your overall thoughts? Where do you think this is gonna go before we get up out of here? Because we've been up in here 2 hours now. We gotta run.
You've been up in here 2 hours. I've been up in here 90 minutes. I appreciate you standing in the gap for me.
Oh
I'd
no,
like to
it's all
remind my
good.
daughter she's grounded till infinity. Till she turns 18, she's grounded.
That you turns it.
Um, yeah, it's 11 months. Um, Mike, I think like I said, like I think this is actually going to go down has the seminal moment of this generation. Like we have talked about these three guys for the last 10 years being the modern day Big Nas and Jay to a lot of people, like the big three of this era. And I think this is the seminal moment. I think legacies are going to change because of it. I think I think Cole has the most to gain. I think Kendrick has the most to lose. And that's a dangerous place to be in when you're the one to set it off. I will give Kendrick credit for this. He's the one with the most to lose. And Drake been jabbing at him and he finally responded. And I'm glad that he responded because here's the thing about it. If you really hold the belt, Mike, and you really hold the title, and I think people know, and I cannot say this, Mike, I respect Floyd Mayweather. He's one of the greatest boxers of all time, Mike. But I do take issue with the fact that I don't feel like he responded to his challengers when they were at their peak. And so Kendrick stepping out to respond right now, and he's the one that looks like who has had the belt a lot. That's very, very big. And I'm excited for hip hop that the guy that most people have given the crown to the last 10 years, even though he was gone for 5 of them, has stepped up to the plate, Mike, because this is the type of competitive fervor sport where you can't duck everybody forever. And I'm glad that he stepped up. But I also think he might be in a little bit of trouble, Mike, because I don't know what his bar work looks like anymore. I don't know what his album making skills look like anymore. And this wasn't even Mike. I mean, a lot of people prefer the Stillmatic freestyle over the paid in full beat to Ether because Nas spitting on there crazy. It's like
I
it gave
do.
you a reason to
I'm
be
one of those
excited.
people.
Okay, right. I think that's just everybody loving the paid in full beat personally, but
Shoot through Memphis
but
money bags. Yeah.
yeah, go to Philly to get some cheesesteaks and eat beans fast.
Mm.
Yeah. He took on the whole crew real quick, real sleight of hand with it. But this verse isn't like that. I think we're more excited about the moment. The
Mm-hmm.
material needs to reflect the moment from all of the MCs, though, because for whatever you say, it's like, no, the Takeover is a great record. Stillmatic Freestyle is a great record. Ether's a great record. The Blueprint 2 is a great record. Super Ugly, not so much, but for the most part, we got the material.
Yeah,
You
the
know,
Last Real Nigga Alive is a great record.
Last Real Nigga Alive is crazy, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the end of the battle right there. It was
It
over
was.
right there. That's when it really ended. It was like,
That
yeah,
was
there's
it.
really nothing else to really say or do at this point. And
But
so I'm excited for it because I want the music and the quality of music to reflect. If these are the three best artists of this era, Mike, they need to show it right fucking now. I don't want to hear any excuses from anybody or any of their fucking camps. If you are who you say you are, this is the moment. This is the time. And as people who love hip hop, we should be excited because these moments, I don't know if everybody noticed, because niggas been so fucking happy with each other the last 20 years. All this happy shit. We don't get moments like this anymore, Mike.
yeah, we're gonna have
Because
some real
everybody want to
interesting
be all
shows.
everybody want to be all friendly. You know what friendly is to me, Mike? It's a synonym for scary.
Mm. Well, you know what? I think you're right. And you know what? We about to get some great shows and some great commentary. I mean, and if this live is
Wait, Mike.
any indication of what's to come, man, I'm excited for the next couple of records and shit. Even Wednesday's show. I wanted to talk about that Freaknik documentary, man, but I guess we could talk about that Wednesday. Did you see it yet?
I haven't, Mike, but I mean,
Check it out. We'll talk about it
pretty
Wednesday.
certain I know. Pretty certain I know some people in there, Mike.
You probably do. It's a pretty good documentary. I'm gonna watch it again. Web Visibility with the super chat says, I've always been a huge Cole fan. He's never had a better opportunity to take the #1 spot. If he can out battle Kendrick and drop a classic album, he can claim the throne. True.
and,
Hit like and
and you
subscribe,
want to know
y'all,
what?
too, while y'all thumbs up in there. Appreciate the love. Go ahead.
And you want to know what? And you want to know what this forces everybody to do too, Mike?
What's that?
Ain't no more talking about it. You got to pick your horse in the race.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Ain't no
I'm
well.
going to
He
do
does
that
this and he
Wednesday.
does that.
I'm going to pick my horse in the
Or I,
race.
or I love all these guys and no, fuck all that. You
Gotta
know who I'm
pick.
riding with, Mike? You
You
know who
riding
I'm
with
riding with,
Cole?
Mike?
Cole.
From Charlotte, North
Carolina.
Carolina, Mike. From Charlotte,
Yeah.
North Carolina. Super excited.
I think
I
I'm.
better not, Mike. If a motherfucker from North Carolina, if I know somebody from North Carolina and they pick Drake or Kendrick, I'm gonna tell you what type of guy I am. Like when it's time to like buckle down, I ain't talking to them no more.
I'm
It's like,
from the
oh, you think
South.
Drake?
I
Oh, you
gotta
think
go with Cole. I'm from the South, man. I gotta go with Cole. I got to.
Mike? This is big for North Carolina, Mike. This is big for North Carolina. We've never had the best MC. We've never had the #1 guy. He can take the #1 spot.
Yeah, the South needs the number
I've been
one guy.
waiting.
I'm with it.
I've been,
Jermaine Young
I've
with
been
the super
waiting, Mike.
chat. Jermaine Young says, in my opinion, Black moves into the stage gets left out of the East Coast resurgence timeline as it was at the forefront of it. It really was. I agree with that.
That's fair.
There was a point
That's
where,
fair.
Black Moon, I'm with you. There was
Yeah.
a point where that
I mean, how
was.
about this, Mike? Mike, there used to be Buckshot and Nas comparisons.
I was gonna say Buckshot was the guy in New York for a quick second. That 93 is important. Dre7 with the super chat says, history shows us to leave the niggas alone that stays out of the way. Gonna be a long day for Drake and J. Cole. They've been doing everything to debate him on. He's right. You know, we'll see.
Oh yeah.
Because in
Yeah.
that comparison,
That's what I'm talking about. Pick your horse.
no, this is the thing. Honestly, in this comparison or in that analogy, Kendrick is kind of Nas, where Cole and Drake are Jay. You know what I mean? Where, Kendrick's kind of Nas in this situation.
Yeah.
Mad Max with the super chats.
He's very much Nas because it's like, no, all that shit happened after Nas's worst album, much like this is happening after Kendrick's worst album. But Mike, and this is what I mean. The guy that we've been listening to even the last 2-3 years, it's like, oh, you think Kendrick got that in him? Because Nas has proven himself on multiple occasions to be a different type of dude. As in, if you ask him to come out and play, he will play your ass. Kendrick has not proven that.
Right. Mad
Quick
Max in the
pause.
super chat says, that's because NY, we don't like being like the next guy. We look at it like D riding. Pause. We hate on each other more than anything. We only unify against the world. Mad Max also says, I'm rolling with Cole. We got a birthday together, and and North Carolina is New York of the South. So we're tied together, even though I rock with Metro and Future. For sure. All right.
Mike,
Go ahead.
Mad Max is right. North Carolina is the New York of the South.
It is. Sonically
Yeah.
and just from the approach too. See Cole, see Rhapsody, it goes on and on. Little brother
Little
to
brother.
an extent, even Ninth Wonder's production style is very New York esque to some people.
Ra- Rhapsody's album's about to drop.
Oh man, I'm excited for that too, man. We got a lot to talk about, man. Look, this whole thing is gonna be great for
This
2024, man.
is Mike.
2023 was kind of a dull year
This
to
is
be
it.
honest. So we need this.
This
And
is it.
shout out to Kendrick for lighting the flame, if you will. Got anything to
Listen to
say before
me.
we get up out of here?
Yes, I do, Mike. You better body this nigga, J. Cole. Body.
Let's do it. All right, we out of here. Appreciate y'all, man. Hit like and subscribe. It's been a great Saturday show.